What is going on, everybody? It is episode 262 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Welcome back. And you get a treat because you get Dane twice in 1 week this week.
Introduce yourself.
Hola, amigos.
Wow.
Dane Font here, marketing man extraordinaire, and the patron saint of White Boy Summer.
We are now officially a worldwide podcast with that intro.
Are you okay with being our token?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think I realized that I give like an NPR intro every time.
You do. Well, it's funny because your intro is kind of the opposite of your personality, which is far more energetic. So I'm always like, why is he giving this measured intro when he's such an energetic guy?
I don't know.
It's very weird.
It really, it shocks even me.
I'm like, Dane, we're trying to get the vibes up here. Could you not sound like you're at a golf tournament?
I'm bad at intros and outros. In the middle, I'm freaking glorious, but...
See, well, I'm bad at the intros too, as you guys know. And speaking of intros, before we get started, I was hoping I could let you guys know if you could please like this video, leave comments on this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave comments whether you like the stuff we're talking about, whether you don't like it, leave suggestions. You can also send me messages on Instagram at Brett Dasovic if there's topics that you think we should be covering. A lot of the reviews and stuff, it's a little bit difficult because of the schedule of the show. Lends itself to 5 days a week. It's very, very difficult. But if you see stuff in the news that you think is worth us covering, just send it our way and we will look if we can get into it. So before we get started, we're also going to talk today. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Patty Jenkins. We're going to talk about the DCU. We're going to talk about the Batman. We're going to talk about Hawkman. Everything related to the DCU seems to be up in the air right now, which I'm kind of I'm getting a little bit frustrated with. I have to admit.
Well, we keep inundating you guys with
news.
information that isn't information.
Yes.
It's just rumors.
It's fun. It's fun. I have a big note here. It says all DC. It literally says right here. It says all DC news rumor. It's right there. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Disney and Kanye West. Yay, has some stuff to say about what he believes Disney is doing with their agenda these days. We're going to tie that into a couple of other things. We are also going to talk about a crowdfunded comic named Private American, which is from Mikey Barron, which is going through some censorship and other issues related to Kickstarter, the platform, and a far left news publication that dragged the comic, even though the comic is not out yet. We're also going to talk about Azealia Banks and what is now essentially like if something bad happens to anyone, it's just racism or it's just sexism. It's just this or it's just that. You don't even need proof anymore. It just is what it is. So we got that, and we've got a great womp 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 for you at the end of the episode today. So if you guys are ready, we can just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
Let's go.
Dane.
See.
Is that going to be the whole episode today?
No, probably not.
Every time we ask you for your take, it's just in Spanish.
Well, just yes and no. Just yes and no.
Yes, I am ready for the show to begin.
Perfect. All right. So
Why, yes.
So we are getting started here. So it says, first Henry Cavill, now they're replacing Ben Affleck too. James Gunn reportedly planning to bring Robert Pattinson's Batman to the core DCU. Now, here's the thing. Before we get started, because I do not want to be fake news and because this is all rumor, James Gunn has said since this came out on Twitter that this
has been
not
developing
true.
throughout the morning.
Yeah.
So here's the exact quote from the Variety article. At least one core element of the so-called Snyderverse is likely over. A well-placed source says Gunn and Safran are exploring the possibility of incorporating filmmaker Matt Reeves' iteration of Batman with actor Robert Pattinson into their wider universe. And then James Gunn came to Twitter to clarify in a quote tweet of Variety. He said, "There are a few reporters I love more than Adam Very, who is the one that wrote this article. He said, truly a good guy, but in this case, he needs to get a new source, as this is entirely untrue."
This is what I'm thinking right here. Guys, I demand to know who these sources are, because every day we get 5 new articles from 5 new people. Who are they?
It's exactly the same thing that happened when people thought James Gunn scrapped the idea of making a Wonder Woman 3 altogether. First of all, everyone's raising their pitchforks, and then they get a clarification, and then they're like all rainbows and puppies about James Gunn. They can't decide how they feel about him. So I saw all of these tweets that were like, fire James Gunn. He's about to ruin DC.
Yeah. Well, also, like, the thing is like, if you just think about it on the outset, assuming that it's not true, the visions of the two franchises don't really work. The DCU doesn't really work, in my opinion, with the darker tone of Matt Reeves' Batman, which benefits from having its own very unique feel to it that doesn't feel connected to anything else. So it's like, you kind of just have to take the macro view and like take the 30,000 foot view and be like, okay, that doesn't really make much sense. Maybe down the line in a decade when they've established these franchises and there's a consistent tone amongst the rest of the DCU, we can talk about that. But right now it doesn't make much sense. I also tend to think that, what if this is just the hazing from Warner Media and they're like, he needs to survive at least a couple of months of just non-stop media blitz.
They're like hiring bots to
they're like
inundate his Twitter replies.
They're like, if he can make it through 2 months without going off in an absolute mental Twitter tirade after just constantly having to debunk rumors, this and that, then we know he's the guy for the job.
He is tweeting quite a lot.
You think Batman needs to be less dark?
No, I'm saying that he needs to not be in the DCU because I don't want him to change the tone. I don't want him to feel like he's incorporated into the James Gunn world, which is far less serious. I don't know if the rest of the DCU following the projects that are coming out now will go in line with how Gunn directs his films, which is far lighter in tone than what they've done in the past. But I don't want to see the lighter tone of Batman. I don't think it needs
me
I
neither.
think like everybody from Marvel just has these worms in their brain. James Gunn, not an exception, that just gives them this impulse to make everything a connected universe. Yep. Everything has to be multiverse, and also you have to add stupid dick jokes and lighthearted humor where it tonally doesn't belong.
Nope.
All of these brainworms, these parasites, are just controlling James Gunn, it seems. If he's planning on doing this. But he says it's untrue. I think the prospect of replacing Ben Affleck with Robert Pattinson entirely in the DCU would be a terrible idea.
Ill-advised.
But like,
why?
Maybe Dane would be okay with
No,
this.
I'm for it. I'm openly for it.
Okay, here's the other thing. What if this is secretly Kevin Feige just sending all these anonymous sources out so that he can distract James Gunn so that nothing ever gets done or made?
The conspiracies
You don't think Pattinson was a
continue.
better Batman?
I didn't like that movie. I didn't.
Really? I liked it.
I mean, even if you liked the movie, if you disliked it, that doesn't
The ending
mean
was kind of weird.
we can't come together and saying like it belongs in its own thing.
Yeah,
it should be its own other universe that isn't
It didn't-
related or connected to the rest of it.
It didn't live up to my expectations for Matt Reeves' work. And aside from that, it's still art, right? It's still art. It's still been created, but it's not art that needs to be incorporated into somebody else's shared world of art. It survives and it thrives on its own. It does not need to be part of something more homogenous.
I just think it'd be weird to go back to Ben Affleck Batman.
Well, here's the other thing. Does this mean that I saw rumors that they canceled his appearance in Aquaman, which is now going through reshoots with its $205 million budget, which is low, honestly. I thought that was low for a movie that's going to be as effects heavy as a movie that made $1 billion. I mean, that's kind of cool that they didn't give it like this enormous budget just because the first Aquaman movie made $1 billion.
I didn't think it was low. I think it was modest but realistic, given that we just saw Black Panther's sequel get a $250 million budget
250
with less effects. Probably.
250 million seems to be about because both of them involves heavy underwater CGI.
guess
And
that's right.
to me, it feels like 250 would have been where they would have gone for a movie that did. It's like their only recent movie that's made $1 billion. Why wouldn't you put all the money behind it? But I support the idea that they didn't, because they should be learning how to do more with less. Focus on storytelling. Don't focus on just throwing a bunch of money at the wall and expecting that to make up for it. I also think it's funny because he also dispelled the rumor that him and Patty Jenkins have any type of beef, because he basically said our interactions have been nothing but cordial and polite.
Well, Patty Jenkins posts this gigantic, long, open letter onto Twitter.
I literally TLDR'd it first.
Yeah.
I was like, I had to go back.
Completely unrelated. Her name sounds like that of a hall monitor.
Patty
Patty
Jenkins. It does.
She sounds like she would definitely scold you for being late somewhere.
Her open letter is just aiming to clear up inaccuracies. She claims she did not walk away from writing Wonder Woman 3's script, and actually it was a conflict with writing for Rogue Squadron, but now neither of them are getting prioritized. Seems kind of cornered.
Well, she also said that she originally that Rogue Squadron was never canceled. That she took a step back so that she could do Wonder Woman 3. Now Wonder Woman 3 doesn't fit into the universe plans. Now I guess she goes back to Rogue Squadron. Either way,
if they
she
want her back.
Well, they said that movie is still in active development.
And James Gunn replied to this tweet saying, "I can attest that all of Peter and my interactions with you were only pleasant and professional." I don't think she really implied anything other than that, though, with her letter.
Well, no, but the idea is that they're saying that she implied that when she sent like Pamela Abdi and Michael DeLuca the thing about character arcs.
I guess that's kind of snarky, but it was in a private communication. It wasn't on social media.
The other reason we can expect that the Ben Affleck stuff and the Robert Pattinson stuff will not be solved anytime soon is because David Zaslav was very serious about, we are not going to have Batmen. We're going to have one Batman in this world. And the funny thing is, back in the day, it used to be like you didn't want to have multiple versions of characters on screen because people would get confused. And it's not really about that anymore. It's just about oversaturation. Like, I actually like Tyler Hoechlin as Superman and Superman and Lois, but I would prefer to have Henry Cavill. But what do you do when there's 9 versions of each character and they're shooting for normies? Normies are like, he looks different in this one. He's not quite as built as that Henry Cavill Superman. And now they're talking about, God willing, a Hawkman movie, which is completely unnecessary. I love Aldous Hodge, but it used to be a thing where to get a spin-off, you had to give a particularly impressive and rousing performance that got everybody talking. That is not the case anymore. Now they're just like, yeah.
I mean, the Black Adam shills would say that was a very special performance deserving of a spin-off.
It was not.
I don't think it was.
I would have
Maybe they could give him a series.
No, do the Dr. Fate series. Like, there was more organic desire to see more of Dr. Fate than there was of Hawkman. Hawkman felt like people, at the very least, people liked them together, but it seemed to err on the side of they liked Dr. Fate because Pierce Brosnan is a particularly like legendary and charismatic actor, and that character has a long history.
But you can make an Aldous Hodge film that is marketable to China, not a Pierce Brosnan one.
But no, you cannot, because China's kind of racist, and I don't think they would want if you have to shrink John Boyega on the Star Wars posters just to get it released in China, and you have to play. Did you know when? Okay,
I'm not sure how much of that is like our assumption.
That's a thing that happened.
Preemptive thing. Like, did they have to minimize him on that because China insisted on it, or because they preemptively assumed it would be a problem?
I'll tell you the one that they did do. When they released the Black Panther posters for the first Black Panther movie with Chadwick Boseman, they wouldn't let him have his helmet off in the posters. He had to have the helmet on. So I don't
even though it's literally called Black Panther.
I don't think you could have the Aldous Hodge Hawkman movie do gangbusters in China. And I don't know how much, like, it feels like as much as we talk about it, it feels like most of Hollywood is pushing away from the Chinese market. Kind of, doesn't it feel that way? Like, we're seeing less and less reliance on it.
Yeah, but that means you hope to outrun their relevancy in the box office, and that's impossible to do.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's egotistical to think that you can get around that hurdle when they're giving such huge budgets to sequels and spin-offs. Like, you can't keep that up forever.
It's how Jurassic World stayed in the top 2 or 3 of movies this year as far as box office, because it got a release in China that did very, very well. So
I must have no sense of money anymore, because when you say $250 million, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
But like, people's like, that's the modest.
Well, here's the other thing.
Budget
Marvel doing $250 million. Even this last phase, a lot of those movies didn't make a whole ton of profit. Like, Eternals didn't make a whole ton of money. Like, most of those movies did okay. Yeah. But it still makes more sense for Marvel to greenlight a $250 million budget movie than it does for DC, because they just don't have the track record that proves that they can pull it off. Look at Black Panther, only just broke $400 million domestically. And I don't know if they're going to hit $1 billion. If they do, it's going to have to stretch out over time. But they're about to. Last week was one of the worst box offices of the year, even though it was number one. It was one of the worst box offices they'd ever done. But also, we're about to hit the brick wall of Avatar that nobody's going to be seeing Black Panther after this weekend. So
do they need $1 billion to be profitable?
No, but I'm just saying the less you make it for, the less you have to make to.
Right.
So if a movie costs $250 million, or let's say $200 million, right, and your production budget is 1.5 times that is your marketing budget. So $350 million. The theaters take 40% of that revenue. Either the theaters take 40 or the studios take 40. I don't remember which one it is. They split it 60-40 with the theaters. So you have to double that just to break even, and then double that if you want to actually get into a realm of reasonable profit. There was just the story about how The Rock might have forged documents or leaked documents just to prove that Black Adam made money. And I don't buy that. Like, that's one
the
that
copium The Rock is on right now is crazy.
I'm clearly, like, judging by what that budget was, the numbers aren't numbering. It is not, the math is not mathing.
That was what, 190 million?
200. I mean, it was closer to 200.
Something like that.
And I don't buy that they didn't spend more on marketing because of COVID. Or I'm sorry. I don't buy that there wasn't more spent on that budget because of COVID anyways. Like, I don't buy that they broke even on that one. I think they lost money in their coping. But that's my take on it.
Or at least they barely broke even, and they expected it to make close to $1 billion, and they didn't.
And okay,
it just had like opportune timing for 2-3 weeks.
Well, they do that on purpose. I mean, they plan where
Yeah.
these comes out. Here's the other thing. They're also saying that Momoa and John Cena are safe because because Cena is safe because Peacemaker, the character, is a product of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and then the Peacemaker TV series. And Momoa, even if they don't do Aquaman 3, they want him for the Lobo character in the DCU. So it's like, where do you go with these? Like, Gal Gadot should be safe. Like, I would rather keep her as well. Like, and that's the thing we've talked about. I've railed against this consistently. Like, depending on the day, some days I want them to just get rid of all of them and wipe the slate clean and start over.
I want that.
But at the same time, I love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. It's like, it sucks to have to see somebody with so much potential as that character be put into a divisive movie like Batman vs Superman, a bad movie like Justice League, one really good movie, meaning Wonder Woman 1, and one really bad movie like Wonder Woman 2. It feels like an actor that good should be blessed with a better track record.
You know, I've given this take before, but I'm going to give it again. I think that Henry Cavill will be a better Batman than he is Superman.
No, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like,
Armie Hammer. Just hire Armie Hammer. Lean into it.
the only reason why he's a good Superman is 'cause he's got that serious face. But I think he can pull off the whole being very tortured person subtly.
Yep.
And that
I don't know if I agree with that, but
and he looks like Bruce Wayne.
even if that could work, it's too late now, and that would be
Yeah,
incredibly
no,
confusing.
you can't do it now.
He does look.
He
like,
looks like Bruce Wayne.
He looks like the animated,
Yeah.
version of Bruce Wayne. He's
Yeah.
wide like that. Like if you look at the animated movies version or like Batman the animated series, Bruce Wayne
Like a
person
tank.
is a tank, like in a suit. So he does fit that more than that. But Ben Affleck
Robert
did,
Pattinson is a relatively small guy.
and he's and a lot of those are older versions of Batman, and he's playing the just past year one version of Batman. Here's the other thing. They're going to suffer more than anything from all of this just feeling malfunction.
Thank you.
All of this they're suffering from it all feeling extremely poorly planned and out of control. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any type of reins being held in. At the very least, why is so much information getting out? If we were to take all of this
Who
as
are
true-
these well-positioned
I know,
sources? All of these anonymous sources that are being used by mainstream publications like Variety. Who are they, and why is their information never reliable?
Yeah.
When James Gunn comes to clarify what's going on, when Patty Jenkins clarifies what's going on behind the scenes.
He
a
could
lot
be
of
lying.
times leaks are fake.
But
like
he
a lot of times.
He could be lying. Like when Overlord DVD got all the details about Star Wars, or all the stuff that leaked about Masters of the Universe Revelations, all of that stuff ended up being true. So
well, what about this? People react badly to the news that Matt Reeves' Batman will be incorporated into a multiverse. And then when he thought he would go ahead with that plan earlier, he just changes his mind last minute and says this is entirely untrue.
The other thing is I want him locked in for 10 years. I don't want none of this 4-year contract BS. I need to know that he's not going to just leave at the 4-year mark. James Gunn.
Oh, his contract is only for 4 years.
Like he needs to actually be there for the 10 years.
It's like a movie and a half.
Yeah. Well, they said most of this stuff won't even start until 2024.
Well,
like think about
he clearly doesn't have faith in DC's ability to pull a 10-year plan off.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's early days. Like we'll see down the line. It's very possible that this news starts to like dry up and they start coming out with actual concrete plans. But here's the thing. Think about this. Every time news comes out now, here's the casting announcement. You're going to be casting this day. It feels like when Marvel's casting stuff comes out, the news doesn't really hit big until they actually start production on these things. And even then, it's not really, you don't hear a lot of the same news until trailers come out. It feels like DC's movie is actually just them trying to get the movies made, not the actual movies themselves.
Yeah, like we thought that Henry Cavill was going to be back filming for a Superman sequel in February 2023. Yep. It's laughable to think that we were talking about that now.
I know.
And poor Henry Cavill, if he is going to get sidelined, because it seems like he left the Reacher in hopes that he would come back to this character, and it didn't work out.
They hire him, but they hire him for the Black Superman movie, but just not as Superman. They have him
just as someone totally irrelevant.
They should hire him as Lex Luthor and just break the entire world there.
That's a really bad move by them.
Like
if
shave
that's
his head,
what they really go for.
Shave his head and make him Lex Luthor.
No,
I'm struggling because honestly, out of the Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, the only person I don't want to come back is Ben Affleck. No offense, but because like she's pretty good, and honestly, I don't enjoy Superman that much, so.
I'm here for like I'm sick of dark and gritty. Give me hopeful Superman. Like 5 years ago,
you guys are totally opposite on this.
We are. Well, five years
what,
ago,
Superman?
On like the tone, dark and gritty versus.
I don't like. I'm saying like I don't like the character Superman enough to have like a strong opinion of it. So I'd side with it. Whatever you said.
Also, this is another thing that I was thinking about because I rewatched The Dark Knight. Was it last week? It's dark. They use that term dark and gritty, but most of the tone of that movie and the themes are hopeful. Like when you think about the theme at the end where they're doing the scene where they give each of the boats the detonator for the other bomb, and they both decide to not, like the convict side does not blow. That's a hopeful theme.
Dude, people clapped in the theater I was in, and it was so cringe. They were like,
but I'm just saying, like the tone is like, I feel like nowadays the idea of dark and gritty just means hopeless. It doesn't need to mean that. The execution of the cinematography can be dark and gritty. You can still execute hopeful human tones to your movies. I feel like they tried to do that at the end of the Batman, and it came off cheap.
I think the rendition of Superman that I've liked the most, again, is from the animated series where he's kind of quirky, which kind of it makes sense with the whole farm kid vibe. Whereas what I get from Henry is like very like serious, you know.
Well, it is.
The loophole here for all of this Batman controversy is don't make a connected universe for DC. No one is asking for it. No one wants it. And it's like James Gunn just goes into this mechanical mode where it's all he knows, and he has to impose the same structure of the MCU onto the DCU. And it just shows a lack of creativity.
Yeah. Well, and like think about that. You don't need to connect him. Wonder Woman could be like maybe that's the benefit of instead of hiring like lesser known actors in a connected universe, you hire really, really high profile, well-known actors to
make singular movies which have been successful
that they can just do on their own. So Gal Gadot can be the queen of her own empire. It's
all a lot easier than what he's proposing, actually. And it would actually help them eke out a living when MCU stuff is dominant in theaters right now.
Yep, do your own thing.
They would be distinct and make their own track record of successful singular movies.
It feels like they're falling back into the same trap of problems that they had when they first announced Justice League was going to come right after Batman vs. Superman, and they didn't need to do that when they could have just done their individual movies on their own. They're trying to rush it to be Marvel, and they don't need to be that. They should be
That's
their own
such a
thing.
shame.
Yep, it is.
Another thing is it's weird to see professional spats be aired out on social media among grown adults when they could just privately communicate. It's just a shame that
Twitter was a mistake.
Yeah, like why would Patty Jenkins even feel the need to post this at all?
I agree.
It's odd.
Let's hold off on Super Chats and then we'll come back.
Okay.
All right. So we are going to move on, guys. Kanye West is,
Yes.
He's got many things to say about Disney. So it says, Ye claims that Disney is spiking the punch and making our kids question their sexuality early on to cause confusion.
He said this in a 2-hour-long conversation that he had on Clubhouse with Whack 100. I recognize the name, not sure who that is exactly. He posted it to his Telegram, and I went and listened to this conversation. First of all, they bring up the Balenciaga shoot. We've all talked about it. We know it. And Ye immediately pivots the conversation from talking about Balenciaga,
as he would want to do,
to this general condemnation of the ubiquitous nature of pornography these days. And he talked about how he was exposed to it at a very young age, and he just completely sidelines the conversation. I just want to add, like, if Ye is going to be out here talking about the safety of children's minds and their innocence, and Disney is threatening that, then it's, at the very least, don't be a hypocrite
very hypocritical
in defending Balenciaga. I know before he got suspended on Twitter, he said, I stand by Balenciaga and denounce witch hunts. I cancel culture, as if cancel culture is the reason that anyone was criticizing Balenciaga. He said, God loves Balenciaga, praying for all the innocent artists and beautiful humans who make clothing that had nothing to do with the ads.
It's such a sidestep. It's such a dodge.
Right. He said, never turn our backs, Demna and the Balenciaga family for life. And he said, remove any and all forms of pornography from Twitter.
Not Balenciaga, though. They're allowed to.
Yeah, like right next to all of these tweets defending Balenciaga.
So is what he's saying. He says, like, Twitter on like porn on Twitter, no. Children holding BDSM dolls and creepy stuff about child predators in Supreme Court documents in their ads, that's fine. That's what he's saying.
Right.
He's not really saying. I mean, he's saying that, you know, the whole company is not defined by this one action, essentially.
Okay, but it is, though.
Okay,
He's
well,
wrong.
At least for now, it is. And
It
I don't
should
think,
be.
I don't know if they end up pulling themselves back. They would have to do major brand reconstruction. And I don't think that the person, at least, I don't know if it'll suffer as a whole, because I feel like most people aren't tuned into this stuff, sadly. Like we said, like those protests were minuscule. There was almost nobody knows that this stuff is happening because the general public is in general asleep when it comes to this stuff. But it's not going to matter.
Especially as somebody who has been working with this brand for a long time, was dropped by them for anti-Semitic comments.
That's why I don't get it.
Why are you
is he
still
defending
them
Yeah,
as
why?
if you're still in partnership with them? I don't understand his motives for saying all that. But now he's talking about Disney and TikTok. He said, they're spiking the punch. TikTok is spiking the punch. Disney is spiking the punch. They're making our kids question their sexuality early on purpose to cause confusion. And that is part of this new war, this world order we're a part of. We're already in World War III and don't even realize it. Right now, companies like Comcast that run everything use celebrities, Disney, Hulu, magazines. They use all of that to control a lot of messaging, to push us, excite us, to get us just talking back and forth. Meanwhile, all of our industries have been completely shattered, and the places where we used to have steel factories throughout the middle America have now gone away, and we have opioid crises instead. So we're going to start right there.
It feels like he pivoted.
It's a total distraction tactic from the issue at hand, especially his own implication with a corporation that has obviously, you know, exposed children to sexual content. He has to answer for that and his own participation in it.
Yep.
And he didn't want to. I also cut out parts of this quote where, of course, he was just talking about the Jews, and it's just like,
he can't,
dude. If Alex Jones is trying to go to commercial with you, you need to chill. You know, like I think that he needs to just get out of the media, and people interviewing him need to stop doing that.
I know that nowadays it's basically impossible to ask people to be consistent, but this is a really, really weird bit of inconsistency.
Yeah.
It's a weird topic to be inconsistent on because it's so easy to
and it feels like
unequivocally condemn this stuff.
And the stuff is like he's talked before about having like a porn addiction when he was younger. Like when he was a teenager.
In this interview, he said, I was first exposed to pornography when I was 5 years old, and I was addicted to it at the age of 14. And he's talking about how it used to be much harder to come by in his time, and now kids are exposed to it on the internet
all the time.
But again, he's only going into this diatribe to avoid taking accountability for partnering with Balenciaga.
Which is it like he just doesn't want to condemn anything other than?
But he's condemning right now.
But I'm saying, but there's like certain things that he wants to condemn, and everything else he feels like he's being made to do something.
He's laser focused on just like this conspiracy stuff, and not the parts of it that are in broad daylight. You know.
Also, I do want to point out here that whether people want to believe it or not, what Disney's doing is inherently on purpose. And the point I make by that is that introducing concept like this to youth is a form of what would the term, normalization early on in life, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, their executives have openly admitted that they use their content to change hearts and minds, which actually just means introduce children to this social engineering, this woke messaging, whatever you want to call it.
And if you worry that it comes top down, I remember we never covered this because it was just it was on its own. But Bob Iger gave a speech when talking about gun violence responsibility on the anniversary of Sandy Hook, and it's like, why does Bob Iger need to be giving a speech?
Why are CEOs of Disney and authority on our social issues?
Yeah. So here's what he says. He says, as a grandfather, as a father, and the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, I believe there is no greater or more important task than ensuring the safety and well-being of our children. Those of us who are in a position to affect change, whether it's by influencing laws of shaping culture or supporting organizations on the front lines, I think we have an extra responsibility. That is proof that that does not stop at gun laws.
What's most bizarre about this pattern of behavior from Disney is that it's not profitable. So we've seen that Universal Pictures is outperforming them in their animated movies by far. We just saw a report from The Wrap that showed since March 2020, Disney's animated films have grossed just over $1 billion worldwide. Meanwhile, over the same period, Universal's animated movies doubled that. Yeah. So Universal is prioritizing humor and storytelling, and it's paying off for them. And Disney, with Strange World, with Lightyear, with all of these bombs at the box office that include, you know, the normalization of LGBT couples in kids' movies.
You want to do it when it's a movie for adults, fine. I don't care. But I'm saying, why does it need to be there at all? These stories, it's not important to the story.
Well,
it's not.
I mean, sometimes it is. They said with Strange World, this protagonist's sexual orientation, who he's like 16 years old in the movie, is integral to the story, so much so that they can't edit it out of the movie to make it marketable for international audiences. So it is integral to the story, which is even worse. And it's not paying off for Disney, but they're past the need for profits.
They don't need it.
Another thing that Universal is doing better, by the way, is that they make movies that I think have more meme potential.
Yeah.
Like we know from Minions: Rise of Gru, there were all of these teenagers dressing up in suits to go see the movie, and it was like this cultural phenomenon, and it became even more fun because they weren't allowed to do it. So that like had a life of its own. I think that like I saw a ton of memes from Sing 2, which like I didn't see. It's not I'm not the target demographic, but
I saw somewhere that Encanto is one of the biggest searches on the internet this year.
Yeah, Encanto
I've heard
was
a lot about it.
Encanto was Disney.
That's what I'm saying, but I'm saying that speaks to the contrary almost. That's interesting. Like Encanto is a big
That
thing
was
this year.
like their most successful,
Yeah.
but the rest were not. And it
that
also
was still
dropped off
COVID.
very quickly.
That was still at the edge of like COVID restrictions in theaters, I believe.
Right.
At the very end of
Yeah,
COVID
and this is
restrictions in
analyzing
theaters.
just like the past couple of years.
Yes.
So,
So it says parents no longer feel safe leaving their kids alone with the Walt Disney Company, and I question that. I actually question that because I don't know how much I buy that parents are that connected or in tune.
no, maybe
with
the
these
parents
things.
who are reading this content
Yeah. If you're reading Breitbart,
feel that way, but
if
like
you're reading Breitbart,
the
you
rest
are,
of them
but,
are just
yeah.
like turn on Disney Plus and walk out of the room.
Yeah.
Have a good time, sweetie.
And they're just like but even then, like, okay, I have a lot of friends who have kids, and they say like they show them old Disney animated stuff. They show them they show them Beauty and the Beast. They show them
But even then, a lot of parents feel like that stuff has subtle messaging too.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of it. I wasn't allowed to watch all of those Disney animated films when I was growing up. So, I mean, it certainly pales in comparison to the quality of the tales that they're based on.
Also, I
guys-
do. Oh, go ahead.
Do you guys think it's helpful to like tell you? I mean, obviously some things are, but like, do you think it's helpful? Like, for example, with me when I was a kid, my mother didn't want me to watch The Simpsons, and I
Do you think that was justified?
so now when I see The Simpsons, I'm like I think even at like 6, I would have understand like this was like a lot of sarcasm and satire, not like real life. You know, I don't know what she was trying
I don't feel
to
like my
shelter
parents-
me from The Simpsons in particular. South Park, maybe the cursing, things like that, but
My parents didn't really stop me from watching anything, not that I can think of. I mean, obviously outside of stuff I wasn't supposed to be watching for my age. But
it often does like the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Like, people are super drawn to what they're told they shouldn't.
yeah,
I think the best children's entertainment is written so that there are parts of it that appeal to adults as well as kids, and other parts that are just for the kids, not in a way that subtly exposes children to exclusively adult themes.
yeah.
But it takes smart writers to do that, and I don't think Disney has those people in their arsenal anymore. They've been ousted in favor of people who don't have children themselves, but have a weird agenda about wanting to insert their values into children's entertainment as a substitute for raising children of their own.
I just think it's a vicious cycle. It starts with, so the hiring needs to be more diverse. And then you get the diverse hiring, and it's almost like understood that they're there because of that reason. And I feel like subconsciously they must have this thought as like, well, if I'm only here because of diversity, then I have to be grateful for diversity, and thus I have to include the thing that got me here into the, and it's just like this never-ending cycle.
Well, they expect you to write that because
Right.
they are actually racist and dumb enough to think that the only thing you can write is what you yourself have experienced, because they're anti-imagination and anti-creativity.
That's what I'm saying. And so it's like this circular logic.
They can
constantly.
only destroy and recycle things. They never
Yes.
create new things. So another example of this that's more recent is they are getting rid of Splash Mountain at their theme parks.
Why?
Because Splash Mountain is racist.
It's problematic.
Do tell.
You heard that right, Dane. Splash Mountain is racist. It's based on a film Disney released in 1946 called Song of the South.
Yep. Oh
where-
yeah, they do not. You can't even find copies of that.
Yes,
anymore
it's
outside
been
eBay.
all but erased from existence. You have to pirate it to watch it. It's about this white boy protagonist who is visiting his grandmother's plantation in the Reconstruction era, and he gets told all of these fun stories by an older character who is black. Now, a lot of people have said that this movie unfairly stereotypes the black character as he is only an accessory to the white character's storyline. But
That's just another example of like.
it's a reach.
But it's another example of like they always believe that if you don't tell the story they want told, you can't tell the story at all.
So this claim, even if it were true, it's dubious. The thing is, though, most of the Disney theme park attendees have never heard of this film. Most of the people who ride this ride have never heard of the film. There are basically no references to the film in the ride anymore.
Yeah.
It's become its own phenomenon. And if that's the case, what is the harm being done here at all? Like, who is catching these stereotyping themes just by riding a theme park ride? It's irrelevant now. And it also was first introduced under a different name. It incorporated scenes from the movie, and then later they kind of scrubbed it. They removed those references, and they changed it to Splash Mountain in 1984 to promote the film Splash under a different CEO. So it's been completely erased from the ride's history. No one remembers that it was related to Song of the South at all. Even if it were still referencing that film, it wouldn't be a problem because the outrage about this film is completely artificial. And here's the thing, like, they're going to now re-theme it after Princess and the Frog, which came out in 2009. That has a black protagonist. And they're more insulting the fans of that film because they can't get their own ride made brand new in the park. They have to get a recycled one that was previously deemed racist.
Yep.
So
it's just stupid.
I saw an interview the other day with Tyler, the creator. I don't know anything about this guy. He seems really cool, though. And in the interview, basically, there's like a guy, he's trying to he's like, well, it's wrong when white people say the N-word, isn't it? Like, he just wants him to say yes, absolutely. And Tyler, I swear this has a point. Follow me, guys.
Okay.
And Tyler's like, for some people, yeah, for some people, no. It's really by circumstance. And ultimately his point was that when they choose to take offense of the word, what they're really doing is empowering it to the old definition, to the historic, one that everyone gets reasonably upset about. And I think what he was saying is like, so that word had an evolution. And right now, it seems that the culture wants to regress that evolution of the word.
We talked about that. Like, it is the iron control. Like, it's like the ironclad control of language, right? You can't use your band name "slaves" anymore because it meant something different back then, rather than the colloquial term that it means now. For somebody, like, they clearly meant slaves to their jobs, slave to the workforce, this and that, which is a valid use of that term. But because a couple of people on Twitter got offended, you can't do that anymore.
And this is more about erasing the past than creating anything new and better for the future. That's
doesn't matter what you replace it with, as long as you get rid of what was there before.
And how I take it is that there's people that there's people that were here, that were like, okay, let's move past this. And there's people under the guise of inclusivity, or whatever buzzword they choose to use that day. They're like, no, it means this, and we want it to mean this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they insist on harping on that feeling. Yep. Like, they're not over it. Like, also, they're not over that feeling.
That's what the term undertone means, right? Like, undertone means that whatever I want it to mean, as long as it means something bad, and I can control you with it.
Or stochastic terrorism. It means the same thing.
Today,
on we'll get into
December 14th, 2022, I give wokeness 4 more years. I'm telling you, I give it 4 more years.
Start the clocks, people.
I'm telling you,
Start the clocks, guys.
2 more for the election cycle. 1 more for the whoever psycho is gonna make the next mass global conscious movement, and for 1 year to implement. It's gonna be. By the way, it's gonna be similar. It's gonna be like openness. Like, no, I'm not woke. I'm open, and it's just gonna. It's gonna be different.
So it's gonna be way worse. We have nothing to hope for.
I mean, it's gonna be. It's gonna be different. Maybe openness.
We are hoping that this show feels a little bit more fun.
Yeah, talking about it, right? Like,
I'm having fun.
They've wokeified Splash Mountain, says Megyn Kelly. And how does this change our world for the better? Good question.
That is a very good question, but that's also just they're harping on it.
I tried.
Here's the other thing, though. If you don't believe this is going to seem like a very, very weird comparison. If you don't believe that things like what Disney are doing have a hold on the culture, or that the increased non-stop talking about these issues, whether this is LGBTQIA+, whether it's trans rights or anything, if you don't believe that it has a hold on culture, I draw your attention to the Pornhub data from this year. I kid you not, where for the first time in history, one of the top searches in America was for the term transgender. Never been there before. Suddenly it's number 4 in the list
Number
of top
4.
searches. So they start it with kids with their LGBTQIA stuff in movies, and it gets built and put into the public consciousness elsewhere, whether it's through mainstream media, whether it's through political pandering, whatever that may be. It is now such a big part of our culture here in America that apparently people care enough about it to look for it on Pornhub. Just a thought if you think that it doesn't work, because it works.
Yeah, this is one of those topics I wish I could talk about on the members only side of the website, but we can't.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Corey Anderson said, in the tune of Feliz Navidad, can you say please feed the dog?
Yes.
Please feed the dog.
Do it again, one more time.
Please feed the dog.
One more time.
Please feed the dog.
Yeah, I was waiting for the rest of it. I was like, you gotta finish it.
False God Dark Soul said the pizza is aggressive.
I'm hungry. Can we go
What
eat?
does this
Can we
mean?
just-
Dude, I am
can-
starving.
Can we just blow this popsicle stand and go eat?
Just order it up.
Blow this popsicle stand.
Invite the pizza guy up here.
If we could maybe we get Papa John on. Tim's he was here. He was like one of the first guests that came here when I got hired on and got to meet Papa John. He did the taste
That's
test.
awesome.
He came with copious amounts of pizzas.
We had the
Oh, we
pizzas
bought 'em?
here, and he tested them to make sure that he did his inspection to make sure that they passed the Papa John's inspection.
Amazing.
They did not pass.
Damn.
I think 2 of the 3 passed or didn't pass or something.
Shots
like
fired.
That. Yeah, he went through it and he investigated well, this has this doesn't have this. He had.
I want to know, has the day of reckoning come yet?
That was the best. That was so intense for no reason. The day of reckoning.
Like,
bro, it's pizza.
But
chill.
are we still awaiting the day of reckoning?
I'm waiting for it.
What's gonna happen?
Guess we'll find out.
That's what's gonna put an end to wokeness.
And the thing. Here's the thing, though. If it ends up, if I have to leave this
I'm right.
crap, and all we get next is openness, just
Listen.
let me out of here. I want off this planet.
Openness might be pandering to us. You never know. You never know. You never know the way the wind blows. I just think it's gonna be a new movement to be like, wokeness was crazy, right? Anyway, I wasn't woke. I was open.
I want sleep.
People are definitely gonna lie about themselves being woke after this is over, whenever it's over.
Yeah.
You mean about how they weren't?
Yes.
Oh, dude, I was totally not part of that. Also, maybe it should be closeness. Maybe it's like we're just gonna celebrate not wanting to
That would be perfect. I love this idea.
If the idea is just look, I don't care what your beliefs are. I just want nothing to do with it, and you're awful. But we'll just be different.
I love
people.
this idea.
That's the next.
What if we created the next psyop right here, right now?
Well, we would have to do it off camera so they don't know that we're the real puppet masters.
Okay.
Good App said, if Ye was more self-aware, I'd think he defended Balenciaga on purpose to make people even more suspicious of the brand as some sort of revenge.
That'd be really funny.
That's a reach.
I don't think he's calculating it that far ahead, though. Waffle Sensei said, I sincerely wonder if Ye defends Balenciaga because he needs their money, considering he's being defunded by every other institution. They've already dropped him, though. He's already lost out, and he doesn't have Yeezy anymore. It's already over. Their relationship is non-existent, and they condemn him at every opportunity.
He didn't even get that Skechers contract.
Yep.
I really wanted. Maybe.
Yeah.
You remember? Does anybody here remember LA Lights?
No.
There were shoes where the soles lit up when you walked on them.
Aren't those for children?
Yes.
Okay.
But they
just checking.
I think they make them for adults, but I think they're women's shoes now. They're
because only women would be so childish as to want lights on their shoes.
We need LA Lights. See, I want some adult. I want my own pair of shoes that light up on the bottom.
Hear that, Skechers?
Let's go.
B Mafia 716 said, remember the actor who played Uncle Remus won an Oscar for his role? Good job, Disney.
Yep.
Canceling a movie where a black actor won an award in the 40s.
Yep.
And that's an example where Hollywood actually was ahead of the game as far as, you know, being enlightened about social issues in a real, genuine way. Like, that's one example.
Look, Hollywood did great for years with the subtle storytelling that I think did great things for race related. There's a reason why the 90s are looked upon so fondly, right?
Not like it was all good or there weren't problems.
I was explaining to somebody the other day, I'm like, look, to a friend of mine, I said, look, we were lucky to grow up in the Midwest where it was for the most part harmonious, but LA in 92, the riots, like New York during the height of the crack boom before Giuliani, like there was plenty of discontent back in the day. It's just that we have fonder memories of it, and I think pop culture provided fonder memories of a lot of stuff. Whether we're talking Family Matters, In Living Color, all of these shows that you could have watched that weren't necessarily part of your actual life, but were promoted by Hollywood. Look, somebody made fun of me the other day because I said I love the show Moesha growing up, starring Brandy. Like that was what it was in the 90s and the 2000s, and Hollywood deserves a lot of credit for making that stuff that people have fond memories of. Remember, Brandy played Cinderella and nobody hated it. Nobody had a problem with it, and they did great work back then as far as I don't know if it's fostering race relations, but implementing a culture where everyone felt free to exist around one another without feeling like they had to be completely different. And they've just gone so far the other way. It actually blows my mind that they don't see it, but they don't.
And everyone watched the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes, everyone.
And no one was like, "This is a black show." Like no one thought of that.
No.
By the way, I keep having to tell Mary, because she's not a boomer like me, Will Smith used to be cool. Not only did he used to be cool, he used to be that guy.
The king of cool at one point.
I can't even...
It's unbelievable to me.
And she just looks at me with disbelief.
Because my first impression of Will Smith when I became really conscious of him, like I knew his name always, but like when I got an impression of him, it was YouTube Rewind.
Wow, that's such a... That was the beginning.
That's hot.
That was
the beginning of his end, and that was my first impression of him as a human being.
You will never understand.
Great.
You will never understand.
To get jiggy with
Independence Day, Wild Wild West, all of these things. Wild Wild West is an objectively terrible movie that I love because Will Smith is just freaking hilarious, and like you will never understand the cool Men in Black. Yeah, I was like, those three movies. That was his era. Dude,
we're gonna talk about him later.
Yes, we are.
And
his
continuing descent.
Yep.
From coolness.
We got a couple more.
Yeah. Dash Fortune said, "You can skin me alive or boil me in a pot, but please, oh please, Mr. Fox, don't throw me in that there briar patch."
Mm-hmm. Like you know what the funny thing is I think we should have maybe we could do bonus content, like because we can't review or watch old movies even on the channel because we'll get demonetized.
Right.
So we would have to do, like somebody asked earlier, like why we aren't doing more paywall stuff. Like maybe we should do that. Like I don't know. It's
of Song of the South.
Yeah, of anything, of any type of old movie. Like I know that you're supposed to be able to watch Amazon Prime stuff and stream it on Twitch, I believe, because they own the platform.
Yeah, that's still a thing, but we don't have Twitch. We only
Yep.
stream on here.
I mean, we're recording an episode of the vlog right now.
Yep.
So that'll be out soonish.
Yesh said, "Hands off my mini mine train, Wokies." What does that mean? I don't know what that is. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, "Disney canceling their own ride even after sterilizing it of all ties to the old film might be the ultimate virtue signal. No one would have ever known."
Yeah, they just left
Except
it
for the people who really dig deep for the information
But
and
those
then
people
write
are-
hit pieces about
Who
it.
are these
and
people?
those people, and the funny thing,
People with no lives.
the
People
irony-
with no children to bring to the theme parks.
and the irony is those are the people that Disney gives free passes to because they're the media class.
Right, yeah. They do give free access to influencers so they can give it free promotion.
One more, and then we will move on. We got one more there.
Porco Rosso Forever said, "When you gonna do more behind the paywall content? I got this subscription and I'm hardly using it." Yeah, I mean, we were thinking about doing the Avatar 2 review behind the paywall, so Yeah, let's add it behind the paywall.
Here's a question for you guys. Like, if we were to review more things that aren't necessarily like one of the biggest conflicts here is time frame, right? Like, stuff comes out and then it's old instantly. Like, does it matter if it's behind the paywall if it's not brand new content? I still go back and watch old reviews of movies that I like that are not recent. Like, would people consider it a bonus to watch something as a review of something they might have liked, even if it's not necessarily the newest thing out right now? There could be a whole channel dedicated to Mary is too young to know this movie. Let's have Mary watch this movie.
Probably, yeah.
Like, we'll just, and then it's just us terrorizing you.
Endless content.
It would just be us terrorizing you, making you watch just like, here, it's 3 episodes of me and Dane using old movies to prove to Mary that Will Smith was in fact cool at one point.
A comprehensive presentation of all the evidence that Will Smith was at one point cool.
Yes.
At one point.
So maybe we
very
do that.
Cool.
We will do that. All right, let's move on. We will save the rest. We'll move on, guys. So, all right. So there is a comic out right now that's being produced. It's not out yet, but it was on Kickstarter. It's not on Kickstarter anymore, and it's called Private American, and it's by Mikey Barron, who is one of the older. He had like a 5-year run on The Punisher, and it has been shut down by Kickstarter, and they feel like as if they're dealing with heavy censorship here because of the themes of this comic.
I want to read the pitch for this comic, just so everyone knows what it's about. It says, America's border is a war zone. The U.S. border with Mexico has been overrun with lawless coyotes flowing across the Rio Grande, bringing in weapons, smuggling illegal drugs, and trafficking slaves across the country. Border Patrol agents are overwhelmed and seemingly powerless, while the U.S. government refuses to help. In fact, the administration seems to actively support open borders. But when the violence reaches his doorstep, one man takes matters into his own hands.
Yes.
And that is Private American. He has the Gadsden flag snake, the rattlesnake, on his suit.
It is hilarious to me, before we move on, how people still think that that's like a racist. Like,
well, I mean, we read this Daily Kos article, which was extremely defamatory, that immediately pointed out the Gadsden flag symbol and said that it is used by neo-Nazis, which
and Trump
I was unaware.
No, they say the use of the Gadsden flag snake is an obvious dog whistle to the Tea Party and Trump rally goers who popularized the Gadsden flag to use in substitute for the rebel flag. Not understanding that like there's whole states that have that you can get the Gadsden flag on your license plate, and it has nothing to do with that. So nor do they understand that it is a revolutionary war symbol.
This hit piece, written by Star Mignon, is titled Punisher writer Mike Barron releases another racist AF comic book. Now, it used to claim that Mike Barron was the creator of The Punisher, which is entirely untrue. And then a co-creator of The Punisher, Jerry Conway, had to go on Twitter and correct the record, but at the same time, throw Mike Barron under the bus and call him this racist a-hole. And it was very sleazy. I'm wondering out loud here because I don't remember off the top of my head. I think Jerry Conway was the one who got upset because he doesn't like the fact that cops use the Punisher symbol, or that the military uses the Punisher symbol. It's been adopted by a lot of right-wing people.
Yes.
Just because they like the symbol, but it's another case of like your art will be interpreted however it's interpreted, and you need to let it go.
This is one of my greatest fears that I verbalized on this show manifesting.
What?
I said famously that the reason, the motive to combat culture is not to make cringe culture for the right instead of the left.
Oh, absolutely. And this is what we were going to get into.
Here we have it. Here it is.
Private American. I'm sorry, this comic is lame. It's made for Gen Xers.
The name. Private American.
It's overtly political, which is boring. It's made for Gen Xers who are boring.
Brett loves them.
I mean, he's almost one of them by a year.
I don't agree. I agree that it's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't. I don't think I would spend the money on it, but I don't know if necessarily you're still filling a market. You're still providing something that people clearly want to.
Okay.
For me, this is the same thing as that comic that was Safe Space and
Snowflake.
But
Snowflake. That was
or
that
Rebels
was
Run,
yeah.
which ended up being a complete farce because
No,
all
those
of its
comics.
funding.
Yeah, but the comics of that still came out. The Archaven Comics
Right.
version of it still came out. Here's
but
the
like
thing.
the Rebels Run film.
But my problem with this is the way that the publication categorizes it, the way that it's categorized by the in the article here. So Punisher writer Mike Barron releases another racist AF comic, and this is where they get into it down here. They talk about the comic as if they've already read it in this article that was produced on the 9th, but they haven't read it yet. They just make assumptions and use that to slander it, which then was used to take the comic down.
Right. So they liken it to stochastic terrorism.
Which, by the way, we're going to go through this because I've been
by
hearing so
definition-
much of that term now.
By definition, stochastic terrorism means
The public
there is
demonization.
a likelihood of this comic encouraging terrorist behavior, but they can't prove it, and there's no proof
Imagine.
that any of it has actually occurred.
First off, no
so
one's
it's
going to read
completely
this.
The public-
perspective.
The public demonization of a person or group resulting in the incitement of a violent act, which is statistically probable, but whose specifics cannot be predicted. Is there anything more generic and
Yeah.
unprovable? I literally can't think
So
of
they're
it.
basically saying that this comic is a domestic terrorism handbook because the main character in it goes across the border as a vigilante. He kills people who are smuggling fentanyl across the border. He kills people who are smuggling people. And
He's just look.
it does have violence, but it's never characterized as hurting innocent people or
They're
committing
bad
acts of
guys.
terrorism
They're bad
against
guys.
innocent
Yeah.
civilians. It's essentially self-defense if you read about it. However, the main sin of Private American is not whether they're inciting violence or promoting hatred or stereotyping or whatever. It's cringe. It's that they're creating wokeness for the right wing. They're not improving the comic books industry. And while they may have a cult audience for this stuff, that audience is going to disappear at some point. You need to create things that are not overtly political, that are entertaining in their own right, and are made for mass appeal if you want to heal what has happened to this industry.
But here's the thing. That's not their responsibility, nor do they claim that that's what they're trying to do here. Did they? Oh, no, because I guess they did phrase it as, like, without preaching, right? But
right,
I don't
they say
see
this
preaching.
isn't preachy, it doesn't lecture you, and it's just adrenaline-drenched storytelling.
That's fine.
But this is preachy. It is telling you...
You do not know that because we have not read it yet. That's our assumption, is that the writing will be preachy. You think the themes are preachy.
Listen here, Captain Contrarian.
No, I disagree from the beginning on this one.
I know. Here's the thing. It's overtly political. So how
By
can
theme.
you work by theme? Yes, but like how can you work around it?
Okay, they made the movie. Did anybody see Sicario? Sicario is literally a movie that takes place at the border that is extremely well done. Josh Brolin, in the whole movie, Emily Blunt, right? And that movie is one of Denis Villeneuve's masterpieces, if you ask me. And this is one of those things. Like, could this be really good? Really good? Yeah, I think it could. We don't like the theme. We think the themes are very Fox and Friends, right? Yes. They talk about the words. That doesn't mean that the execution is bad. You're judging the execution based on the themes.
The other comic that this guy put out is called Thin Blue Line.
That is
Because
the
the
name
theme-
alone is
because
cringy. Yes.
The theme is
It's
the issue.
for like a bunch of gray-haired conservative guys who post about backing the blue and have Twitter avies of them wearing sunglasses in their cars.
Sorry, the theme is the issue. I don't care about the execution because the theme is the issue for me.
Yeah.
Like there are so many spaces and dialogues and shows and podcasts already that are hyper political.
Mm-hmm.
I just need a piece of media. Like a piece of content that isn't. And I feel like there's this misconception on like the counterculture side of the thing that if it's not left wing, then it's okay. And it's like perhaps to you. But my grievance and the grievance with people that think like me is that it's not about whether it's left wing or right wing. Like I think left wing people make some interesting points and content as well. It's the fact that the incessant need to do political content, whether it's high or lowbrow. Like I'm just sick of it.
Like, is it their responsibility to make something for mass appeal? No, they can do whatever they want, obviously. And it's not right for them to be banned on Kickstarter, to be shadow banned on Indiegogo.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be forced to go to alternative platforms, but they are, and that's not fair. However, we're judging this project on the merits of what we know about it so far before it's released.
I'm judging it based on the censorship and the...
Why would you judge the merits of the project based on it being censored?
You're focusing on whether you think the project is a good idea or not.
Yeah, we just said it shouldn't be censored, though.
So my question is...
We agree with you. It shouldn't be censored, and that's wrong. And the things that this Daily Cost article were saying about it, like comparing it to Mein Kampf, comparing it to the Turner Diaries.
It's ridiculous.
Saying that it radicalizes people to be insurrectionists. Like, obviously that is ridiculous on its face, and only the people who read the Daily Cost every day believe what they're reading here. Everyone else can see how ridiculous that is. And no, they shouldn't be banned for any of this, even if what this article was saying is true. They shouldn't be banned from Kickstarter. We all agree on that. But we're just pointing out the obvious, which is that this project is cringe, and if they have any hope of counteracting this type of censorship, they need mass appeal, an audience like for the Rippaverse that will advocate for them on a mass scale, that will crowdfund more than $2,500 to get it printed and colorized. That they only raised $2,500 on Kickstarter before they were suspended on Kickstarter. That's not enough to counteract the censorship.
And one last point. So I think it was marketing itself as like pure, like unadulterated fun or something like that.
They said it's pure adrenaline-drenched storytelling without preaching or lecturing.
So that's the thing. Like, even if it's subtle preaching and lectures, it's preaching and lectures. And
tell me how. Then I'm ask this question. How do you do this story without that?
We're saying that the theme itself is
so you just can't tell a story.
The reason that it's
you can't tell the story. I'm just saying, like, I'm not an advocate for it because I'm sick of political stuff. Like,
so how do they? So Sicario works in 2015 because it's more about the death of the lead character's wife, right? So in that movie, he's going after this drug kingpin because his wife is murdered. Josh Brolin plays the government agent. He comes in. It's a far more dynamic story. But I had to see the movie to know that. I don't know what the internal themes of this comic are. We're just like, if you looked at Sicario without actually watching the movie, it sounds like a Fox and Friends movie that got made.
Okay,
but it's not.
You are introducing me to this. Not you. I mean, literally the makers. They're introducing this piece of content to me with the most, absolutely. What's the figure of speech? On the nose.
Yeah.
Like, at the border, it's worse than ever. And there's this one guy, like,
they even cite sources.
Like Tucker Carlson is the one reading it out loud.
Seriously,
they even on their Kickstarter link to sources as evidence that this is actually happening in real life. And it's like, I don't want to read about real life news. I want to read a story.
And it's like what you were saying with Cinderella, how this person played Cinderella. Who was it? Brandy played Cinderella, and like no one gave a damn back then. It's because they didn't go like, well, Brandy as a woman of color is gonna, like, no, they're just like, hey, here's Cinderella, Brandy. And people, since they didn't beat him on the nose with it, they were fine.
So maybe the idea here is that if you tell a more personal story, maybe you keep the story the same, but your pitch for it is about an internal struggle or a conflict that the lead agent is having that bleeds into his work. His wife is killed, in a home invasion, and they find out it's at the hands of drug runners who work for this kingpin that he needs to now go after. I'm basing that solely off the idea that that's similar to what happened in Sicario. You can make it more personal, but that's just us basing our shoulda, woulda, coulda about what could have been done. I'm saying that you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say the whole theme is bad. You're just saying that the execution of the pitch is bad.
I'm saying that the general spirit of I don't like your political thing so I'm gonna make my political thing and shove it down your throat is equally bad.
I mean,
Right.
I still thought the focus of this more was like the fact that a publication messages Kickstarter and then gets taken off, even though it was initially approved by Kickstarter and then removed later based on specious claims at best about what it might do to people in the future. That's my problem with it. Here's another thing. They never categorize. They point out that it's racist AF, and they point out they target Hispanics, they target people here. They never point out when they're like leaving you this long diatribe that the protagonist of this is black. They never mention that.
He's not black.
Or, I'm sorry,
Cuban.
he's Cuban. They never mention that because they understand that it goes against what they're trying to say here.
Sure,
You can be black and Cuban.
Yep. So
he was not black. He was just
the point is they purposely don't mention it because it's intellectually dishonest. To their attack
I
on
agree that it's dishonest, and they're openly trying to take these people's ability to make money away from them, and that's obviously unethical. And I think they should take legal action because after getting kicked off of Kickstarter, after getting shadow banned on Indiegogo and censored off of all of these social media platforms, which arguably is one of the contributing factors to that censorship, is getting smeared in a hit piece like this. They have definite grounds for a suit, and they did imply at least that they contacted legal representatives to begin looking at the situation. And if they're serious about this, what they should do is send the Daily Kos a cease and desist and have a process server give it to them directly and show they're serious about taking action. And then maybe they'll set a precedent for other independent creators that are getting censored, because it happens all the time. Even this comic is not allowed to get mentioned on the comics subreddit. Like, you can't mention the existence of it, even if you're disparaging it.
Also, here's the other thing: is it really being shoved down your this is a small Kickstarter campaign that can't even exist on its own. We have to this stuff gets shoved down your throat by Disney, by Warner Brothers, by all of these companies in a small Kickstarter. That it's a thing you find cringe, and these people can't exist because one website says no.
Listen, I don't want them to get back like that. Those are two different subjects entirely.
We sit here and criticize those giant studios and corporations all day, every day. That's what we do. And just to point out the fact that Private American or Thin Blue Line are not examples of great alternatives to those mainstream products, it doesn't mean that we're pro-censorship. It just means you shouldn't be censored, but you'd have a way better shot at counteracting the censorship and getting success off platform like Rippaverse has if you make something that isn't overtly political and isn't corny.
I don't even think that matters because he's constantly attacked. His is not political, but he's attacked constantly as if it is.
Yes, he is attacked constantly, but he obviously has made over 10 times the amount of money that the creators of Private American have.
Then you're right,
because it's more appealing.
It's better marketed. It's somebody with a larger platform. It's a more appealing concept, sure. But I don't think that means that this one shouldn't at least try. I mean, maybe you do too, like this. Like I said, a Thin Blue Line comic is cringe to me. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. You get you hit gold once in a while with general concepts that turn out to be better. I'm just saying that for something like this, it is a problem to me when, yes, they may not like or think that this concept is cringe, but nobody is able to censor the Disney stuff. Nobody is censoring these companies that are doing stuff going the other direction. And you can't even have your Proud Boys comic without some left-wing publication that was popular in the year 2000 somehow getting a multi-million-dollar corporation like Kickstarter to take you off of it because boo-hoo, we don't like your comic because it might be sort of kind of not PC.
Yeah, I agree. They should be able to have a platform to crowdfund. That's not a problem whatsoever. However, when you make a comic called Thin Blue Line that is about a vigilante police officer shooting down violent BLM rioters, I can't help but think people are reading this in their homes, vicariously living through a character that is, standing up for small businesses that are getting destroyed in real life, but they would never stand up for these people in real life. They would never leave their home.
Most people are like, the people who read Batman wouldn't go out and beat up criminals. They would not. They read Batman to live vicariously through them.
I'm just trying to get my finances in order. It's really hard being Batman.
When it's so explicitly political that it's based on real events that happened 2 years ago in exact locations, I can't help but think it's just it's really not like hitting like it's supposed to hit.
And that's why particularly I agree with you on the censorship bit. I don't want any of this, like, on that regard, that stuff to happen. But what I also don't want is, like, we often use the metaphor of the pendulum swing. I don't want wokeness being controlled by the right wing. And I feel that's what some people want. Some people just want to, like, oh, it's time to own the libs, and they just become the libs. Like the libs that they're fighting. Yeah. And like that's what I don't want. And I feel like things like this lead to that. Because
I think these people end up being the ones who just read it on their own. Like, these people are off these platforms now. They're not communicating on these other ones because they get in trouble, whether it's because they post memes that get them banned. They're buying their Thin Blue Line and their private. I think Private American is a better name than Thin Blue Line comic personally, but I think they're both heavily on the nose. Yeah. But it's like, I don't see anything wrong with making a comic. Like, there's probably is a large portion of people. Obviously, this comic doesn't really intimate that idea because the sales are low, but I don't know how long it's been out. But there's a large group of people, whether you like it or not, that do identify with more inherently like real world themed problems, right? Like the theme of Batman and the loss of family and cleaning up the streets of a town is more general, of your city is more general, right? But there's a lot of adults who grew up reading comics where when those themes are more general, they were spoken to more broadly. But now what they're reading is they've grown up, they watch the news, and this speaks to them now. It's a market being filled. We're not the target demographic here.
Sure.
But no demographic, whether it's these people or it's the people who are making some comic about a trans football player who just wants to play pro football. I don't have a problem with that being made either. Yeah. It's just stupid that these platforms bend the knee when they clearly didn't have a problem with it to begin with. They had to wait until some like left-wing rag complained about it, and then they're like and also anybody who uses stochastic terrorism in a sentence is automatically to be discontinued. Just don't talk to them.
We should, as a society, we should encourage people to define the words they use constantly. Stochastic terrorism, could you define that for me? Oh no. Okay, well, I'm just disregarding everything you've said.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, we should live like that constantly. Day in 2024. I'm not old enough yet, but it's a spirit.
Maybe it's me with my hyper live and let live. Like, I don't know, like, do your thing, dude. Like, I get it. Like, what you're saying is, like, you don't feel like it helps their side of the culture to go into themes like this, which are so on the nose. I'm just like, you know what? You're not hurting anyone. You're over here making your comic that's selling. And here's the other thing. People like this, they foster like tight-knit groups of people that support their work, right? You don't follow, like, if you're into comics, like into crowdfunding, you're not in it for the comic. You're in it for the journey of watching that comic get funded, getting the stretch goals, hitting all the perks, and going along for the ride with the creator as they create these projects. Oddly enough, I do agree with you that with a more general theme that's wider in focus, you can make that journey more fun, I feel like, because you reach more people. But, you know, the people doing this, I feel like, leave them alone. Do their thing.
You know what? Ultimately, what I want, I want another Lonely Island to happen. I want another Memento to happen. I don't want...
The Lonely Island, as great as they were, that's still corporate created.
That's fine. No. But, like, I'd rather that than whatever the hell's going on right now. And, I don't want another Bros. Or, in that case, I don't want another Run High Fight. Yep. I don't want any of this. Like, I want a movie that's not like, well, you're on this side, so come see this. This like ideological entertainment segregation needs to stop.
It will never stop because everything's subsected into corporations and different ideologies now.
Well, everyone throw money at my face and I'll make it.
That's not even possible. Then your own worldview would bleed through into it.
Okay, Brett. Well, then I don't know. I think it's possible. And just because you think it's not possible does not deter me from thinking.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The Daily Wire has made Terror on the Prairie, and most of those are what you would consider, at the very least, if not apolitical, the themes are more widely felt, right? So, okay. I take that back. Yeah, I was wrong. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm saying that what we're seeing is a natural response to the last 7 years of people being told that what you like is evil, what you want is bad, what you crave is so awful, you're literally not allowed to create it or allow it to exist. Bad or not, there's going to be a market for it because people don't like hearing that.
Because there is a market for it. That's why I wish the creators of Private American had gone to a platform that's censorship free in the first place. Yes, there are a few of them, but they do exist, and you could have predicted from many situations in the past with other creators getting banned that Kickstarter was not the place to go. They only set a goal of $250.
Yeah, that part made no sense to me.
That's bizarre. And then they made $2,500-ish before getting suspended permanently. So why not just go to Give, Send, Go? That's a platform you won't get deleted off of. And now you've lost out on thousands of dollars after a very predictable backlash because your content is divisive. Yeah. That's not a problem, but think ahead of time,
I also laugh at this because the criticism that it's going to cause violence when the Punisher has literally been killing bad people in comics for decades. Nobody reads Punisher.
It's the video games cause school shootings logic. Always on repeat in different iterations.
My argument is that, I understand you crave. I understand you hunger. But I dare say what you think you crave is not what you desire. You want to be satiated. And you just keep getting this content and you're still hungry because you're getting the fast food equivalent of art. And what I'm saying is, if you want to be satiated, you need to eat meat and vegetables, and we need the meat and vegetables of art, not fast food.
Well, I don't know what that is in current year. Top Gun Maverick.
I think that is the most meat and potatoes, vegetables piece of entertainment we had in a while.
Yep. Well, okay. Then how about this question? If you were to make a movie and it was about you, if you had control, what would you make the movie about?
Me personally? Mm-hmm. Well, me personally, I've always had this idea of a short story, and it's about how relationships are difficult by design in today's day and age.
Okay. Hard to
and it wouldn't be political.
And here's the thing. Then let me come to it from the perspective of the when you make these movies, right? You could write the most apolitical script in the entire world. Hi, I'm the casting director. What race is this person? What race is this person? Can't do this, can't do that. Do they have kids? Do they have kids with were they in a previously same-sex relationship? They can find a way through notes, if you're going to get funding, then the producers have the right to give you notes. If you want to do this, we want you to include this theme. This demographic is testing really high right now. We want to incorporate this theme into this project. They can turn your apolitical thing, or the other way. They can turn a non-political thing into something political, or they can turn a political thing into something non-political. Back in the day, what they would do is they would take stuff that had heavily political themes and turn it into apolitical themes. I mentioned the other day that I was watching X-Men 2, and the Stryker character, which in the comics is an evangelist, turned bad guy. They turned him into a weapons manufacturer, turned bad guy, because in the early 2000s, it just wouldn't have worked in America to make the bad guy an evangelist, because it was just, we were on the outlet, we were at the outlier of that time when they had more control over the media. So it can be done either way. I'm just saying that it's a process that involves so many people now that you can't really do that when there's money coming in from multiple sources.
In 10 years, if I talk to you and I told you, hey, you're gonna be a podcaster and you're gonna be paid by an independent journalist that's more influential than pretty much than mainstream media, would you have believed me?
10 years ago?
Yeah.
No, but I was a
right. So I'm saying that maybe 10 years in the future, we can talk to Breticus or like whoever and be like, hey, you know.
Who is Breticus? I need to know.
It's like the future version of you.
Ah, okay. Fair enough.
A young, strapping young lad. And they're like, they could have made the same argument. I'm telling you, I don't think it's going to come from large corporations either. I don't think, but, you know, maybe
Someone
might
commented, Mary wants a comic about Fauci saving the day.
Is that what you want? Is that what you want?
Look, guys, I'm unvaxxed. Full disclosure, I don't want that.
There we go.
I don't want Fauci to save my day.
And I don't think it's going to come from a Disney or whatever. It'll be like Clerks, like an indie movie, and people will be like, hey, these guys rule. Let's give them some money. And then it'll be bigger, and then they'll sell out. Meanwhile, they did something cool. I don't know.
It is basically like you get these great creators who make these things independently, and then you just watch them get gobbled up by these corporations until they sell out. Because there's really like, can you really expect one man to have that much integrity through all of it?
I think we just need to, you know.
Thank you.
Why are you scared?
Amazing.
This happens every day.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It's so hard to do my dance.
Thank you, guys.
You have to cling on to some bit of hope. And I know copium, lol, everyone make fun of the boomer millennial, but like, how else is it gonna happen?
Don't worry, Dan. You're a strapping young lad, and you have a great take.
Thank you.
I'm just here to be contrary to everyone all the time.
Absolutely.
I'm here like if everyone here is saying something left wing, I'm going to say right wing. If everyone here is saying something right wing, I'm going to say left wing. I'm like, I don't believe in authoritarianism. I'm like, I don't know, authoritarianism's pretty great. Like I'm just here to disagree.
Hey Brett, Ben Affleck is a great Batman.
He is. You're right.
Yeah.
Let's go to
You got him.
Superchats.
Hava Owen said, Wild Wild West was the S when I was a kid.
So good.
Thanks for censoring on my behalf.
Yes.
Biddy Beasley said, uncensored show when? Only show I look forward to every day at work. I'd pay for the unfiltered version. Any hope in getting that without subbing to that political show's website?
Unfortunately, we are
First
part
question, hopefully yes. Second question, no.
We are part of that political show's website.
Yes, because there are secondary subsidiary show.
Also now
we're hosted on the same website because of that.
Can I before we move on, what if they just leaned into it and they got like Tucker Carlson to do like an announcement video for that comic?
They may as well.
And they just they just have a bunch of like super like not like alt-right, but like really annoyingly like corporate right, like Charlie Kirk
Get
is like
Megyn Kelly to endorse Private
Kirk.
American.
What is Megyn Kelly even anymore?
She like has her own radio show.
Yeah.
She was recently talking to Adam Carolla on it.
Hey,
All she talks about is how quirky she is.
I
Really?
like Adam
Yeah.
Carolla. I want Charlie Kirk to be like,
He's
I
cool.
love this episode of this issue of Private American, and then like
Money
Project
Guns.
Veritas is like, we inspected this comic book company and they are A-OK. They have the James O'Keefe certification.
Nah, they need
Just
the
lean
Fox
into
News
it.
chicks.
Just lean into it and make it like a parody.
Yeah. Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, I think the 80s have the 90s beat in regards to music and movies, early rap, action movies, horror movies, comedy, etc. I'll give the 90s credit for 16-bit video games.
Yeah, the 80s had, 90s is more like, I grew up with Tupac and Biggie, Bone Thugs, Spice One. Those are the ones that I always mention. That's the stuff that I loved growing up. But also like my brother was like had the most eclectic music taste out of anyone that I'd ever met in my entire life. Like everything from Rage Against the Machine to Tupac to country to all of these things. So it's like, depending on where you grow up, I think that your music is influenced by the people around you as much as the decade. But I think the 80s and the early 90s have the best music, but that's part
You
of
know, the first music video I ever saw was Hypnotize.
Biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good song.
Well, I just like that Life After Death and All Eyes on Me are classic albums, as well as like East 1999 Eternal. And I think back to like we talk about it now, like they don't release albums as much as they do release singles because it's so much more profitable to just release singles on iTunes and Spotify and stuff like that, right? But when I listen to East 1999 Eternal, it's meant to be listened to as an album. Like you're supposed to listen to it through song by song, and it's actually like there's songs in there that I can't sing the words to unless I hear it coming in from the song before it.
Interesting.
Like that's like I don't think that there's such a thing as that nowadays.
Because it's thematic.
Yeah, because they become TikTok sounds that are spliced into like 10 seconds.
Well, and they try to do that with old music now, just by speeding it up or slowing it down.
Yeah.
Yep, I hate that.
Caper2X said, so stochastic means imaginary then. Makes sense.
Dude, that's evil. Like that's a term like it because it sounds semi-intellectual. So people are like, oh my God.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
It is. It's like if I hear that in the real world, anybody who uses that seriously in a conversation needs to be just viciously mocked and pointed at and laughed at.
Caper2X said, Comrade Contrarian, mi comandante.
That is me. I am Comrade Contrarian. I'm here to be completely contrary to everything everyone says all the time.
Which is weird because you would think like Mary Quite Contrary would be the contrarian here.
But not.
But it's you. Hava Owens said, comic is cringe, let it fail on its own.
Yep.
Why are they scared? They give this stuff power the more they censor. Also, who is they?
Okay.
I don't know.
He's
Answer your
not
own
wrong about that.
question.
Like, if they just left it alone, it'd have made the money it would have made of, and nobody would have cared. But they don't want you to have anything. They don't want you to be able to have your right wing at the border comic. They just want you miserable, sad, and to have to consume their media.
That's why the Daily Cost was saying they think that the makers of the Private American are just looking for the media coverage that censorship gives them.
It's so lame.
And if they are, you're right. It's super lame, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can't know. But I'm saying like think about like you can't just let them have their you just can't let them have their Proud Boys comic. You're that miserable that you just can't. I let people have their like crappy like I don't care that you made Lightyear this year. I think it's stupid. I don't think you needed to make that movie, but you made it. You're allowed to have it, and if you enjoy it, good for you.
I'm not as sweet natured as you, Brad. I don't feel that way.
You've been
if you enjoy Lightyear, then you're wrong.
I'm like you've been beaten down by your many years of experience. You would think that I was the young, fresh-faced person, and you were the older person. But you are the.
It's kind of bleak.
Yeah.
I just think there's something to having witnessed the world before the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you'll have your like once in a lifetime innovation where you're like, guys, before Bleep Bloop.
Before, I don't know if anything else has been more
in the
impactful.
future.
Caper2X said this comic reads as too close to the real world. He also said, so anathema to the corporate media and the left.
Yeah. I think they would have done well to frame it in the context of, if you're going to keep it close to the real world, frame it in the context of like the main character's personal story. So you feel like you're getting invested in a person and a character, not in like a general real world idea.
There was like nothing about Private American on there. And it was all about the political issue. They even had a whole paragraph explaining why they think it's important to talk about the issue. It's just lame.
Maybe.
And I know it's happening. I know there's a crisis at the border, and I don't like to think about that in my free time.
I will be fair. Like when I hear people talk about that all the time, as much as I know that it's true and I know that it's real, I'm like, really? Is that still a thing? Like we're still talking about that? I know it's a real problem, but it's like if you make it about this amazing main character who just happens to be dealing with the crisis but has this amazing story to tell, that's different. That's engaging. Mm-hmm. I'm not disagreeing with you on any of that stuff. I'm just saying that I get annoyed at the people telling you that this can't exist because, I went to college and I wear a Che Guevara shirt to my to my office.
Nathan Koss said, can you counteract an overtly political cultural machine that shoves the message down your throat and everything by making something that doesn't have any message? I mean, it's not about it lacking a message because every piece of art arguably like can have a message.
But
Yeah, that misses
when
the
it's
point.
But you're saying you want apolitical stuff. So then the message has to be different.
I'm saying that when your shit is inherently political, you have no message. Like you're just at that point you're
it's
just
bad. You just think it's
no.
ham-fisted.
I mean literally you have no message. Like because it's like it's the opinion du jour. Like it's no message.
it's like
just
we are united by being angry about the same thing.
yeah.
Well,
It's like here's your slop. Like a message. Maybe I'm just being like too woo woo with like what is messaging.
What if you did the same? What if you did the same story, but it took place somewhere else? Like you did the same stories. Like there's criminals overrunning this area. Is that less inherently political?
I mean,
I think so,
if they
yeah.
said it in such general terms, that's obviously a lot different than saying
In the streets of South Central Los Angeles, where crime is rampant, is that still not political?
Are we gonna talk about the AI art thing?
no,
No.
we weren't going to talk about AI
Okay,
art
well, never
today.
mind.
But I mean, if you had a point about it, feel free.
That so. I feel that when you do political, spiel and it's the central thing is like, well, black Snow White or whatever. It's like you're doing AI art, essentially.
Yeah.
Because Snow White is this thing and it's associated with these topics and whatever. And when you just make it about the political, it's like black Snow White enter. You know what I mean? Like you can't see past what is generated because it doesn't have the soul, the anima that something.
What if they had done it, but they made it a fictional town? What if they didn't set it at the
Well, you can
border?
say what if about all of these different circumstances, but like they did what they did. We called it cringe. It is cringe. That's like, I mean, you can't argue with the fact that it's lame.
I'm talking about what you were saying about how like a less political message. I'm trying to workshop an idea of how you do that as a way to.
That's for other creators who want to create something better to worry about.
And it's hard deconstructing a political idea too.
Yeah.
I think it would be better. Maybe I'll back it just to see if it's.
I mean, yeah, find wherever they go after Kickstarter.
Yeah, just to see how it's executed.
Yeah. Nathan Koss.
Maybe we should read
Big
it.
Dave sent us 99 cents without a message. Thank you. Bryce E said, you can't forget I Am Legend, that doggo scene.
Yes.
I didn't see it.
Gosh, I think they're making. By the way, did you know they're making a sequel to that? Well, I don't know how much. I don't know how the Oscar slap affected that, but I believe that an I Am Legend sequel is coming. Also, I believe that the dog from I Am Legend did die like very recently.
Aw.
Isn't that really sad?
Yeah. Waffle Sensei said, hard agree, the left became what we saw the right was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The right cannot be taking on the tactics of the left, lest they become them.
Yep.
Well, it's just going to be. It's going to be a non-religious version of that. It's going to be a Newsmax version of that rather than
open.
Luis Aguilar said, listening to Mary makes me lean more authoritarian, and I'm not mad about it. Dane, can you pronounce my name correctly, please?
You're a bad influence
What's
here,
his name?
Mary.
It's Luis Aguilar, I thought. That was right.
Luis Aguilar?
Yeah.
Did I say it well, puppy?
He made an
Luis
attempt.
Aguilar?
Let us know if it was right.
I can't see it in front of me.
Bobcat said,
Aguilar?
I just...
Aguilar? I don't know.
I think that this is a quote from Brett, actually. He said, I just want a decent show with a good story, decent acting, and a pretty girl in a slinky dress. Is that too much to ask?
It's not.
It's not too much to ask. Like,
Well, it
It's
is
just
now,
the right
apparently.
amount to ask, I think.
like it's not that hard either. It's really not.
Maybe the good
Hot
good writing.
women, people firing guns, cool stuff. Not that hard. Like hot women can do cool stuff with guns within respect for like believability.
Based.
Allow the woman to be a spy who gets men through her beauty and sexuality. I'm not saying you debase her. I'm saying that you use what the real world would do, which means there are spies in the real world that are women that use men's vulnerability and attraction to women as a weapon that benefits them, rather than just having a woman who, for every pound she is under 90 pounds, she can beat up 5 more Navy SEALs.
Just interview Swalwell and like
yeah,
ask
exactly.
Him
Yes.
Ask him how he got hosed down and
Carnell said, if you're going to see success in a marketplace or industry that you're not supposed to see it in, be prepared for groups of people who are going to try to ruin your life.
Cool.
Eric July.
Yep.
Yep.
I feel bad for he has one of the strongest personalities, so he can fight back against this stuff, and it's got to be mentally draining for the average person who's not prepared for that battle to have to do this. But he just calls them crackheads and moves on. He calls them crackheads, and he has the whole theme about monetize your haters. So anytime somebody makes a video or calls him out or does something, he proves them wrong. He gives them evidence as to why they're wrong, and he makes money off of it.
I love that.
What is their crack? I think their crack is
Monetize your
anger.
haters.
They're addicted to finding things to be angry about. Noli said, replace Mary with Bocus.
How do you feel about that? Would Bocus do good here? Maybe
we have some sad news about Bocus, so yes. I don't know if that would even be possible.
I think what they're saying is they want that maybe they want some Bocus up here for a while before.
Why not a Mary Bocus collab? You know.
Epic, iconic duo.
I miss Bocus already. And he's not even I want him here right now. He's not up here.
I haven't seen him for a few days.
By the way, guys, fun fact, my phone is essentially 90% photos of Bocus. Skating stuff and then pictures of Bocus.
You need to get them all scanned and then just put them all over the walls.
I might put one behind me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put a picture of maybe somebody who's good at Photoshop can put a king's crown on him, and we will frame it and put it behind us.
He really was the lord of this place.
He ruled this place.
Yeah.
He was.
Well, don't talk about him like he's already gone.
Okay,
he's not.
He's still alive.
We love you, Bocus.
Luis Aguilar said, the first music video I watched was Men in Black by Will Smith at the end of the Men in Black VHS.
Yep. Wasn't that cool?
Dude, it's such a great video, too. It is the most 90s thing you've ever... Complete with fisheye lens.
Galaxy Defender.
So good. So, let's read two more and then we'll move on.
Okay. Waffle Sensei said, bro, agreed. Almost only listen to music that I can just leave the album on and stay in the vibe. It only takes 2 bad songs on an album to ruin it for me.
It is also proof that where you put your interlude is in art. If you are gonna have Eminem did the interlude very, very well with his creepy, what was the guy's name? The creepy Stan, the guy who was always sexually deviant. Yeah, that guy. His interludes were great. So the interlude is very important.
R. Kelly's new album really just hit the nail on the head in that way. And Waffle Sensei also said, leave Mary alone. She is wise beyond her years.
You are very...
I guess I'm getting heat in the chat right now. I wasn't paying close attention, but...
You are very wise beyond...
Send more money and explain why.
Why is she either bad or wise beyond her years?
Tell us.
All right, guys, we are moving on. So...
Let's talk about Will Smith.
Let's.
He hosted Red Table Talk today alongside his son and daughter to talk about his new film, Emancipation. And you may be asking the same question that his daughter asked. It's, Daddy, do we really need another slave movie?
The answer is no.
Will Smith actually feels very strongly that we do need another slave movie. And from the comments that he has made so far, I have a feeling that he relates to his role as a slave a little bit too much, like a worrying amount.
Because he's a rich celebrity who's not actually suffering and has a life of extreme actual privilege.
I think that might be it. Yes, Brett. Yes. So here's what he said on Red Table Talk. I was getting called the N-word 100 times a day by very good actors. It's rough. It twists your mind. You have to be really careful. He also described the horrendous experience of wearing prop chains on set. And he says it really helped him step into this slave roles perspective.
Maybe they should have used real chains, like a method actor.
Well, I think they might have been real. I just know that they were props, but they might have been actually heavy chains.
Yes.
He said, it turns off your agency. You don't want to step. You don't want to move. You don't want to look anybody in the face. It's deeply dehumanizing. So they put it on. They do it. I'm standing there. And then he goes to take it off and it doesn't work. So it's locked on and my heart jumps and I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no. So I'm sitting there. Now he's running around looking for the keys. And for 15 minutes, I'm stuck there in the chains and my heart is pounding. And I'm like, Will, do not freak. And I'm sitting there and it's like, I got it. I'm Will Smith with people running around looking for keys, and my heart is still pounding. I'm still scared. Imagine what it was like for Peter to have that stuff on, barefooted, and nobody cares. And it was like, woo, yep, I got it. He also said, I felt embarrassed while I was standing there waiting. It was emasculating, dehumanizing. Once you've experienced those things, they go into the same banks as your actual memories.
I have a question.
You don't have a separate place for acting. Your brain and your body recognizes it the same way it recognizes actual memories.
Can I ask a question? Like, this is a weird dichotomy here. You call it dehumanizing. You're literally the lead actor, the star of a production in which hundreds of people are there to literally either document you, serve you, or make sure that a project in which you are considered to be the most important part are taken care of. It is the opposite of dehumanizing. If anything, it's narcissistic.
This is like an obvious example of a common problem where actors are so narcissistic that they aren't able to separate themselves from the characters they play. And they're obsessed with the idea that they can deeply relate to all of these experiences that they portray on camera. They can't, because Will Smith is a multimillionaire that lives an extremely cushy life. He has very few actual problems to deal with compared to the character he's playing. Now that's fine. It's acting. It's fake. It's supposed to be pretend.
I actually like it when the actor, like, I don't remember who it was recently who did the thing. Is like they make fun of method acting. They're like, you do your job, you go home.
Right.
It's like you're making it out to be more than it is. It's a job. It's a skill. You go to school for it. You get good at it. You learn how to do it. Now, here's the thing. I defend actors a lot because I do believe that for the ones like, maybe not like a Will Smith, but for the ones that do deeply learn to identify with these characters or get heavily into the mindsets of these characters, it can be a very, very deep emotional experience. But to call it dehumanizing is ridiculous.
Right. And he obviously just like isn't a very uninteresting person if he feels like he has to relate to his character's story in order to like have a story to tell about himself. I think he's just like revealing his true character by claiming he understands the perspective of a literal slave just by wearing a costume of one, you know?
I wonder if he feels the same way when he watches like cuck porn.
I guess that subject is on your mind after you were looking at the map.
I imagine it is. He can relate heavily, given all the entanglements.
That completely took me off base. I was like, what?
He has like some kind of situationship with Jada Pinkett Smith. So
dude, burn that
maybe
red
it hits
table.
too close to home.
Like
there's some witchcraft on that table.
The red
Burn
table,
it.
like the red table, does feel like I bet you he dreads it. Like she loves it, he dreads it because she's like, "Here, allow me to embarrass you again."
Every single.
And he's like, "Yes, ma'am. I would love it for you to embarrass me in front of my kids and the entire world.
I would love for you to record me in my own home without my permission."
It's been so long since I was cool on Independence Day when I punched an alien and said, "Welcome to Earth." Now I just get embarrassed by my wife every day. That's my Will Smith voice, by the way.
It's incredible. Honey, you remember you promised me you would stop doing this, but you still keep doing it? Hey, save it for the red table, Will. Like, that's probably what's happening to him.
He wants to have, like, he wants to argue with her about something in their relationship. He's like, hey, there's no cameras here. Hold on.
We
can't capitalize off of this.
We just need a beautiful girl that wants to start a career in acting to take him away from his wife.
Just do it.
Just do it. Save him.
Like him and Margot Robbie.
It's a mentality thing.
He's
staying because he wants to stay.
Be his muse.
He can't be saved.
Him and Margot Robbie were in Focus or whatever together, right? Margot Robbie, leave your husband and go be his muse. I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh my gosh.
Someone.
She's based. Go, like, you guys go be a power couple together.
Someone that remembers 90s Will Smith. Help him.
Like, there's got to be somebody from that time.
Just put, like, fresh... why can't I say the name of that show now?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air clips for him.
He's too busy promoting the new one, which I've heard is actually not as bad. Like the modern version of it.
The trailer was atrocious.
I don't really want to watch it because I don't really want to watch the overly dramatic version of it. But
dude.
Oh, by the way, chat, did you know that we're getting off topic that Chet Hanks was still acting up until last year
I wasn't aware of this.
He's
but
in
what was he in?
24 episodes of Empire and a bunch of other, like, regularly. He has an episode of Atlanta that came out this year. He still acts. He's just also a fitness guy.
Guys, tweet him and tell him for Christmas you want him to be on PCC.
Tell Chet Hanks to find Will Smith a new wife.
And tell Chet Hanks to find Will Smith a new wife. Yeah.
Exactly. Iconic
Do
duo.
that. Tag
Name
me in
a
that
more
post.
iconic duo.
I'll wait.
Seriously.
So do you like, does this, here's the thing. Does this movie interest you? Does Emancipation interest you at all?
Of course not. And I think that the reason these movies are being made is 21st century hangups and guilt tripping, not because of actually going for an accurate retelling of history.
Yeah.
And it's disrespectful to the real person that this story is based on.
Yeah. And then remember the director got in trouble for bringing the picture to the premiere.
Yes, it's this picture of Peter, who is the slave being portrayed in the movie, and he was lashed on the back until he went into a coma. This is a real story. They portrayed this in the movie, and then he was criticized for showing the picture of this man at the premiere.
Because it is weird that he just brought it to the premiere. I mean, I get it from his perspective. He's like, this was my inspiration to make this amazing movie that I've made. I mean, that's my assumption that he thinks his movie's amazing. But it's like, why? Like,
it's very white savior.
If I was a bored, rich, liberal white guy in Hollywood,
go on.
Why would you even step into this arena knowing like your entire? It's like
there's too much to lose.
Minefield.
It's like indulgence.
Why would you like? Is it literally just? I'm not going to say that word. Is it really just ego?
Dude, it's like how in the past Catholics could pay their sins away. I feel white liberals feel like this is how they pay their original sin of being born white.
Well, and that is a thing to them too. They actually are the people that feel superior, just in a guilty way. They feel superior for who they are.
I'm such a good
weird.
boy.
Yeah.
I must show your suffering.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of racism, did you know Azealia Banks?
She's recently canceled a
Killer
show in
segue.
Brisbane. She's postponed another one in Melbourne, and it's because of racism, believe it or not.
Do you want to hear what the racism actually was?
Let's hear it.
So she was due to perform in Brisbane, and she says this. She says, I am so sorry, you guys. Actually, she says, I am so sorry, you guys. Actually, I'm not sorry. But listen, last time I was in Brisbane, and y'all threw shit on me and the stage and damn near almost effing hit me in the face with an effing bottle of soda or whatever that S was. She said this in a video. She says, that was the most like racist, most effing demoralizing experience of my effing life. And right now I'm on a really good track.
She also said, I'm a beautiful black woman, and I am not going to get in front of some audience of white people for them to be throwing shit at me. I'm so not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. Brisbane, y'all are just going to have to take the L and smoke it.
This is the world we live in now, where the first thing your mind goes to is you perform something, and your belief is honestly that they don't, like, they showed up for you. So clearly race didn't matter because they're there. Like, somebody threw something at you, and your assumption is that it's because of how you look, not because of how you perform. That's antithetical to performing in general.
Azealia Banks, if these white people are going to one of your concerts, they're likely not racist at all because you're black and they are trying to support you. Also, and they're a fan of yours.
They could have been throwing that at anything. Stuff gets thrown at concerts. And maybe it's an assumption
this happens to Lady Gaga. Yeah. We've covered that. It happened to Justin Bieber. It happened to Harry Styles. Like, this happens to any performer.
Lady Gaga had the barrier in front of her to prevent her.
It's not a race thing.
Like, am I to assume that, like, what if they found out that a black woman threw something at Lady Gaga? Am I supposed to assume that that's racism? No, I assume that they're just.
She threw it because Lady Gaga's white.
I don't buy that, and it's like also, it's such a lazy excuse.
It's like, at least apologize to the people who wanted to see one of your concerts who aren't guilty of throwing things at you.
That's groupthink.
Who were looking forward to seeing you. Like, at least say sorry to them instead of just like telling them that they deserve this. I think this is just like a new iteration of the same behavior we've seen from Shawn Mendes, from Justin Bieber, from these stars who cancel shows for mental health reasons, when really all of the people who work off stage are the ones who really take the L there.
And
like
then
they lose out on money when you need a mental health day.
And then Taylor Swift is just the Terminator, she's the Energizer Bunny who adds more concerts, so many so that Ticketmaster breaks because they can't hold the volume of all the work she's willing to do.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm surprised that Azealia Banks or other like less than A-list artists are able to get away with entitled behavior like this while on tour, because thousands of people have paid to see you on this date and you canceled it because you think that they're racist.
And it's also not because she's afraid of getting hurt. It's because her feelings were hurt.
Yeah, like ramp up security if you're worried about that. Put
that-
up the panels
Call
like Lady Gaga did. Call Lady Gaga and get her protocol on how to prevent people from throwing bottles at you on stage.
And I think what you said is an interesting point. Like she addressed everyone as if they were the bad guy. She didn't address everyone and say a couple of bad apples ruined it, I still love the rest of you. She addressed all of them as if they were that person.
Yeah, she said
That
to
speaks
all
to our
of Brisbane, you have to take the L and smoke it. It's like, what about your fans?
The
though?
entitlement of
The
that.
fans who were sitting in the back who would have never done that, like they're getting blamed all in the same pool as the rest of them.
Like I feel like that's a generational thing. I feel like back 10, 20 years ago, they would have said, I'm sorry, like to the people that wanted to see the show, but this happened, and they would have blamed the people who did something wrong, but they would have at least pointed out that I don't think all of you are like that, because they understood that those are the people that make them their money. But it's like you said before about Disney, we're in like a post-profit society.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore. These people get to just be awful to everyone, and it doesn't matter.
I like money.
Well, I'm saying, but they're going to get
That's
their money.
controversial.
They're going to
Dane.
get their money anyways.
I love money.
So,
I want money.
somebody in the chat, Lee said Christina Grimmie, rest in peace. Yes, that was very, very sad.
Oh,
Who?
is today like the
I don't know.
anniversary of her death, or
I don't know. I go back and look at her channel every once in a while.
Christina Grimmie.
She was a YouTuber who was killed outside of a performance by a fan,
Oh my
like
God.
an obsessed fan. She was one of those original YouTubers who got very big on the platform, along with a lot of those other kind of, I guess, early pop YouTube artists that really, really did a lot of great work together. Like, not really my genres, because a lot of them were cover artists, but there was high production value in a lot of their videos, and they proved like a lot of that early YouTube creativity of being able to make your own stuff without a large label behind you. So, but yeah, like that is pure entitlement to just be able, like, not coming to this entire ever again.
yeah, she's condemning an entire country based on the actions of like 5 people.
Yeah, they're saying that Christina Grimmie passed in June. That's what I thought. I thought it was in the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like, just all of you are bad. But that's the world we live in now. You paint everybody in broad brushes. Nobody wants to talk about the individual. I hate that.
Let's move on to a womp womp womp.
Ooh, we have a great one.
We have some comic relief.
Guys, so
AOC made a documentary
Did you
about
know?
climate change.
it's a climate change documentary.
It's called To the End, very apocalyptic in nature. And it averaged out to $81 per theater in its opening weekend.
So you're telling me-
Hasn't even made a collective total of $10,000. It's
That's
still short of
amazing.
$10,000.
So let me get this straight. In a time of record inflation, general dismay amongst the American people, we're in an age now where people don't want to go spend the exorbitant fee that it costs to go see a movie to be told that the world is going to end in 12 years, as if Al Gore was still around and still important. That's not going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I
But the
don't
thing
often
is
say
shocking.
this, but this is a literal example of get woke, go broke.
But the thing is, she has like sycophantic fans.
Well,
why didn't they
don't
show
have money.
up?
They're communists. They don't have any freaking
True.
money.
She sells sweatshirts for like $75. Somebody is buying them. They're the girls with email jobs at LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah. Fair enough.
It's
Yeah.
the girls that make my day in a life working at Twitter. Like the same ones that buy her sweatshirts for like $100 on her website are the ones that should be at the theaters, but they didn't show up. This is the end for her.
$81. Like, I'm trying to. Okay, so $81. A ticket is what? $15 a piece. So
It's like 3 people.
So it's like let's say it's like 5 couples in which the cuck boyfriend got dragged to it by his
No,
girlfriend.
that's too much money, Brett. Not 5 couples. That would be like 10 people. That'd be like 120 something.
Someone said she
It's
should have
like-
gone with the rumored cameo in Morbius too.
Like, I'm picturing a bunch of guys who are like, who's like, my girlfriend's boyfriend said I could go to the movie with her. Like my girlfriend's boyfriend let me take my girlfriend to a movie, and this is the movie they went to see. And the guy's like, I would love to go to this movie with you, and like, but like they won't buy popcorn because you know, I guess they're vegans. Would they want butter or popcorn? Like no actual food at the movie theater. I love
This is a white
You have
pill.
celery sticks.
Yes, and because they're communists, they actually sneak in celery sticks that they got from the
To just screw the system, man.
the poor movie. The big bad evil AMC movie theater. And then they're like, remember Stonks? That was a thing. We don't support the man.
Did you hear anything about this documentary
No, but
beforehand?
good.
'Cause I hadn't at all.
I read stuff constantly about like Megan Rapinoe starting her own production company, and you hear about this stuff getting made, but you imagine most of it's going to streaming services that nobody
why
watches.
wasn't this in streaming only? Why would it go to theaters?
It's
It's just bizarre.
so popcorn is vegan. That's not real butter. Okay, well that's fine then.
I'm genuinely shocked that it did this bad.
Yeah. But another thing I'm kind of shocked by is that the Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix, it's really a docuseries, is like blowing up. It's doing really well.
I don't know. That was kind of a fake record. It's like the best. It's our best
Well, here's
series
the
ever,
record.
as long as it's a documentary starring a half black woman
It
and a
says-
guy from Britain.
81.5 million viewing hours after its debut last Thursday.
That doesn't sound like that much to me.
And then the record they say it broke is it has the highest hours of viewership for any Netflix documentary in first week.
All
That's
girlfriends whose boyfriends are allowed to watch it by their girlfriend's brother, boyfriend, allowed them to watch it.
I
They
mean,
just
that
make
sounds
up
like a
records.
legit
That's
record.
not a made up record.
That sounds like a good record.
That's a good record. That's not a made up record.
I don't believe any of this. It's all
Highest
propaganda.
viewership
I
of
love it.
any
I don't-
Netflix documentary in its first week.
This is
I'll pretend it's not true if you will.
this is
I mean-
anti-royal propaganda.
A lot
Love
of
it.
people are intensely interested in Harry and Meghan, and I wish they weren't, but it's a thing.
Dude, because she's
They
got
have
him.
a cult of personality.
Like, this guy's the most undignified prince ever. Like,
yeah.
she's hot.
Have you watched it at all?
No.
Would you?
I'm a heterosexual male.
He's
But it's like
he's like my wife said if we get this many hours I can buy back some of my gun collection she made me sell.
I mean, I'm sure my girlfriend could get me to watch it, and if they count as the views for double. No, but seriously, it is kind of the fascinating thing about them two is like how hook, line, and sinker he is.
Yeah.
You think she was the royal one?
Some people say that he just used her as any random excuse to leave the royal family.
Sure, but
and
you think
it wouldn't have mattered who she was.
You think she'd carry more? He'd carry a little bit more weight. Like he's her lapdog.
I have done the green line test on them, and I think that he's got years of posture training from being royal. He doesn't like.
Yeah, the green
lean
line
in.
test isn't so bad for them. They're very equal.
I feel like that comes from training from like the royal family for him, and she's also just whiny and just doesn't want to lean in because she doesn't actually like him that much. So it's
Yeah.
like he's trained. He wants to lean in but doesn't. But he's like, oh, I've been trained not to do this, and she's like, I hate him.
I gotta
I'm
say,
using
she's
him.
great in Suits, though.
Well, yes.
I always gotta say that. I like Suits, and
like,
she was good.
So basically,
Constant refrain. Loved her in Suits, though.
So, well, yeah,
Love
like,
her.
I've explained on the show before. It might have been an episode with you. I said they have like one of the rare examples of like a sex scene in a show that felt like it was actually earned, where they actually did the scene very, very well because it led up. Their tension was palpable by that point, and it would have felt awkward if they would have cut before it. Now, granted, it's a network cable sex scene, so it's very, very tepid to begin with, but it felt like they earned that scene in that episode. I will say, however, though, he's using her to get out of the royal family. She's using him so that she can become royalty. They're using each other. It's kind of amazing.
Yay.
Yeah, I guess everyone wins.
Also, they can make a documentary that nobody will remember
And then
a year
Lizzo's
from
documentary on HBO Max is kind of just existing
I
in
heard
the
it's
background and no one
now. Not as huge as they thought
cares.
it was going to be.
No.
Ironic.
Ironic,
Big
huh?
mistake.
It wasn't a gargantuan, obese
Large
success.
failure.
Aw.
It's, I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm sure they're round. It's, they'll round up. So
We're
Yeah.
just so toxic.
We're such toxic bitches today.
that was very, very just not nice. I apologize, Lizzo. She's never done anything.
She's not watching and she never...
She's never done anything.
Okay.
She has never done anything wrong.
To all the
me.
Lizzo fans out there, I'm sure you're out there.
Take
We're
the
sorry.
You can have the leftovers.
Our bad.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Snuck one in there. That's a Vic.
Hava Owens said, the comic becomes propaganda, low grade at that.
Yeah, it's we can argue about it over and over again.
Like all the military valorizing cinema
maybe-
of the 2000s, like it's fine, it exists, but it is propagandistic.
Maybe that's why I have such a soft spot for this, because I love the military and cop propaganda movies and shows. I love it. But it mostly because what I love about them tend to be about individual stories about members, not about the mission itself. It's more about, yes, it is about them killing a terrorist, I guess, but it's more about the struggles that these individual people went through to get through this mission. I love that. Nor do I relish any one group being taken out in something like this. I love stories about people.
Those movies are masculine. They're like, let's eat a steak and look at hot women. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
You know?
If nobody here's ever watched The Unit, the one starring Scott Foley and what was it, Michael Irby and a bunch of other really good actors. The guy from the Allstate commercials as well. I always forget his name. He's from Minnesota too, I think.
He has a great voice.
Yeah, he's the lead character in that, and that's a show in which the men.
Are you in good hands?
Yeah, it's I always forget that guy's name, but that's a great show because the men go on their on the missions, also another main story about it is the women that they're married to and the struggles that they go through at home being military wives. And that's it was in 2009, so we're in the height of Obama just got in office. We're about to start drone striking a bunch of Middle Eastern countries. It's fantastic. It's pure propaganda, and I love it.
The Last of My Kind said Will Smith was Mr. 4th of July.
He had 3 movies come out on my birthday in 3 years.
He also said
on July 2nd.
Will Smith, such a good actor. We thought he was cool.
Well, this is the thing. Social media, horrible idea for actual celebrities that are built through the system. If you're an influencer, sure, you need social media. If you're a Will Smith, all you have to do is give your phone to your social media person, and then every once in a while they're like, say something cool, and then you say something cool, and that's it. Mm-hmm. You can't do that anymore.
Caper2X said, Brett, you poor sad boy, make mine marvel.
What
does this mean?
Why am I a poor sad boy?
No.
Is it the DC news? Is that what he's responding to?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it's because I'm just upset about the fact that DC is in shambles and they're just constantly releasing news that doesn't need to be released.
It's not really even news.
I demand to know.
It's non-news.
It's like gossip.
I demand to know who these sources are. I want them named. This is not protected by the First Amendment.
That's who they is.
Yeah. who is they?
The
really?
anonymous source.
Yes.
Hava Owens said, Bocus, a true OG.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, Bocus, king of the cast castle.
He is. He's the king of every castle
Yes.
he's ever been in.
Hava Owens said, Will Smith's fakeness shows the more he speaks.
Yeah, he should just stop talking.
I need to stop watching YouTube said, basic social awkwardness is now racism.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite guys in chat. He's so funny. Such a weirdo, but love him.
Hava Owens said, did Mary just say a swear?
Did you swear?
I don't know when that was sent, but
They
sometimes
expect me to swear. They don't expect you to swear.
Sometimes I say
Mary.
shit if it's not in the first 2 minutes of
Maria.
the topic.
Maria.
But usually I don't.
Somebody in the chat says Ellen in the chat says Brett's not poor. I dispute that fact. I dispute that fact.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Mary, I don't know what all the hate is, but here's some money. Now we can have your best Alex Jones responses. At least Mr. Potato Man and Bad App care about you. Mary, and all hail King Bocus. Hi, Brett and Dane.
Hello.
Give us another Alex Jones impression.
I only know the one that I said.
Give it to us.
I'm a pioneer. I'm a human.
Tell us about how the frogs are being turned gay.
Oh, I forget how he said that one. I have like a compilation of Alex Jones videos in my camera roll that I just like go back to and laugh at every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
But I can't repeat what he says in them.
Well, that's why we love. It's really funny.
That's why we love him.
I have a photo of like within my first month here because he was out here.
Dude,
and we filmed.
I'll never forget that.
We
day.
filmed an interview with him, and I sent that to a friend, and I'm pretty sure my friend has not spoken to me since I sent him a photo of me filming Alex Jones.
I have
Wait.
I have Paris syndrome with any famous person now since that moment because like
When was that?
before it was I don't know how else to describe it, but before your time, and it was just seeing the most zany person on screen being absolutely human. It's like, oh, we're all people after all.
He's a chill guy.
Oh, and the funny thing is, like, we got to like going out to meet like to that studio and stuff like that. That was very cool to like see like the set not in use.
No, I wasn't there for
and
that.
stuff like that, and like it's very interesting when you see the business side of so much of media. It's very eye opening how different it is.
Biddy Beastly said, "Here, Dane, have some money."
Thank you.
Goes directly to his bank account, by the way.
Here,
I'm good.
Nathan
Okay.
Cos said, AOC's sweatshirts cost that much because they're made in America by union workers, or so I've heard.
Oh, good for her.
Well, look, hey, make your money. Like it's a
Make
grift.
your money, queen.
It's a grift, but you know what? Like if the people are willing to pay for it, I love the image of her doing her like Instagram lives while she's eating or cooking and stuff like that. It's such a grift. It's just,
When she eats on there, she eats like an absolute slob.
it's and also
It's bad.
And the conservatives do this to themselves when they're like, remember the video of her like dancing on a roof, and conservatives were like pissed about her dancing on a roof,
Yeah, it's so lame.
or something like that. And I was
Like that video she made in college or something.
It's like, okay, there's a video, guys, from like 2007 from like, I don't remember if it was, what website did it, but it was called I've Got a Crush on Obama. And it's this some political pundit who couldn't also sang the song, and they got a pretty girl to like lip sync it and filmed a music video around New York where she's singing this song. This is back when the left may not be able to meme, but they can certainly propaganda well. And the whole song is literally about how this girl leaves a voicemail on Barack Obama's answering machine.
I remember this.
It starts off, he's like, I would like to thank you for your time, your understanding, and your prayers. And I look forward to speaking with you in the weeks and months to come. And then it like hits a voicemail machine as if like the beep just went off. And she's like, hey, B, call me back.
Hey, B. Potatoes for Seamus said, we need Brett and Mary hoodie merch.
What would that look like?
We need like
Yours would be a
cartoon versions of us.
superhero. Yes. Superhero Mary.
I don't like that idea.
Horrible idea.
I just want cartoon versions of
Cartoon
us.
Mary. All right.
Yeah.
I want to be like a sick anime looking dude, like with the glasses and shit.
All right. We got one more in there.
BMF Nate Dog said, just tuned in. What did I miss?
Well,
you
pretty much
missed
the
like
entire episode.
99% of it,
Well,
but
you missed us talking about how nothing in DC entertainment is real. It's all fake. It's all fake. Well, you missed us talking about how Kanye West says that Disney is turning the frogs gay, and how a far left publication was smearing a right wing border. What would you call it?
Cringe.
They call it cringy. I say live and let live. Border comic about violence at the southern border. It was a Proud Boys comic basically from Mikey Barron. And then you also missed us talking about how Will Smith and Azealia Banks are crying racism and bigotry in an age of, I don't know, what would you call that?
wait,
Will Smith
what?
Will Smith is just because he's pampered and he's a pampered celebrity, and Azealia Banks is like read the room. Not everybody's the bad guy. That was everything we talked about today. And
Pretty
AOC has a documentary that literally no one went to see.
Yes.
We should go. We should have seen it.
Potatoes for Seamus said, I want to see Mary go off on Lizzo in her, maybe he meant Alex Jones.
Yeah, Alex Jones' voice.
Caber2X said the PCC Politburo in cartoons. I don't know what this means.
Me neither.
I'm sorry.
Well, thank you.
Potatoes for Seamus said AJ voice. Sorry. You're good.
That's good. You could have easily been an evil an evil Russian. Oh, somebody says here, it says, Ellen Thompson says, marry the evil Russian 007 killer. Maybe. I don't think she could really pull off, maybe not Famke Janssen in GoldenEye. She was a little bit taller than you, but, you know.
I still think she's the Fed. So
Mary, yeah.
If you had to guess, it would be me.
Somebody could do like a drawing where it's like Mary half dressed how she is now in half in just like a power suit with an FBI with a badge, like a flat badge right there.
Okay.
I would hate that.
Yeah, it's
BMF Nate Dogg said, "Good recap, thanks, my guy."
That was I'm sorry, that recap was horrible. I didn't do any justice to what we talked about today. But I did my best.
Personally, philosophically opposed to women wearing pantsuits of any kind.
Pencil skirt or bust, ladies.
Or just a dress, that's fine too. But no pantsuits. You look like Hillary Clinton.
We don't want that here.
Yeah.
And if you're, but remember, if you're conservative women, you have two options, and it's literally just, it's like, imagine like the scene from The Matrix where he's like red pill or blue pill, and they're like, you become a conservative woman, and it's like the red dress to the blue dress. It's all the same dress that they all wear to CPAC.
What do opinionated conservative women do if they don't have killer legs?
I have no idea.
They're not Fox News.
Amputate them.
Oh, okay. Well, on that note.
All right, guys. Dane, my friend, thank you so much for helping us out on this Wednesday.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me.
You are going to be here next Monday for meme review, are you not?
I will.
Excellent.
That'll be fun.
Let everyone know where they can find you, my friend.
You can find me with high-spirited outros such as this on Twitter at Dane Font, and now I shall spell that for you. DANEFONT.
Well, except with more energy next time.
Correct.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
More.
Dane's not on the top of his game. He only had 10 hours of sleep. It's not enough.
Didn't work.
He's a growing boy. BMF Nate Dogg said, I'm opposed to women wearing pants.
Okay.
And Shimmy Shelley says pencil skirts are based. I've never heard that before, but I agree.
Okay.
Put that on a shirt.
Pantsuits are cringe.
Yes.
Anyway, you can find some pictures of me not wearing pantsuits on Instagram at Mary Archived. You can read my inane thoughts on Twitter, also at Mary Archived. And we are doing another meme review on Monday with Dane. Please send any memes you have, any clips you have that you want us to react to the subreddit for Pop Culture Crisis. We're going to select the best ones, and we're going to react to them live.
Excellent. Guys, before we go, could you like the video? Could you leave a comment on this video? Could you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? It would help us out greatly. I am so proud of myself for doing better about remembering to talk about that.
Also, leave rates and reviews for the show on any of the podcast listening platforms like Amazon, Apple Music, Pandora, Spotify. It helps the visibility for new listeners.
Excellent. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasvik. We got one more. Would you like to read that one?
No. I'm not going to read that.
I figured as much. All right, guys. Again, at Brett Dasvik, if you want to follow me. We are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to listen to the show in your car, on your way to work, wherever you may be, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you would like to follow us on social media, you can follow us there as well. Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Later.